World Series tonight. Back at it. Some college football playoff rankings. We'll get those. Shane Beamer will speak to the media. We'll see if that was as tense or if that will be as tense as Dan Mullen's press conference yesterday. And, Patrick, there was a late night situation involving girlfriends. No, this is not involving me. Girlfriends, monkeys, and the University of Texas. That
Jerry Springer,
yes, you couldn't make this up. This came out late last night, relatively late, I should say, past what I would have normally deemed bedtime. I stayed up a little bit. I got really. It was not expected to be a big sports night for me since there was no World Series. I wasn't really into the Giants and the Chiefs. You did get some Monday Night Football that I guess was an entertaining game if that's what you were going for. The Chiefs win 20-17. But I ended up getting into hockey last night and a little bit of NBA basketball. The Raptors and the Knicks were on the NBA network, and then on ESPN Plus. This is part of the new television deal for the NHL. They've got all the hockey games, so I ended up watching the Blackhawks, and then I got into Edmonton versus the Seattle Kraken. So I'm staying up, kind of scrolling through Twitter, minding my own business, just kind of conversating with some people, and one of the weirdest stories that I've seen come out in a long time pops up on Twitter late last night. Again, probably, 9:30-ish or whatever. And maybe that's where I guess we start. You'll see it today. Trust me, you will see it. Steve Sarkisian will be forced to answer this before we go any further. Jen, are you familiar with the story that we are referencing at the current moment? Because again, it was a little late when all this really kind of came out and people started putting out tweets. I guess I'm looking at Thomas Campbell. Tom Campbell is the person who seemed to have broke the story, and I reckon it was around 8 p.m. last night, East Coast time, 6:58 Central time. Are you familiar at all?
I have to say I am not.
So the name Pole Assassin means nothing to you.
Yeah. Yeah, we remember we there will be children involved in a morning show. We've got to find a way to delicately handle this story this morning.
It'll be easy. We got it.
The initial tweet that was put out last night from Tom Campbell says, "I'm hearing a report from credible sources that Texas Longhorns special teams coach Jeff Banks' monkey allegedly attacked and seriously hurt a young trick-or-treater last night on Halloween. The monkey's jaws apparently had to be pried off the small child." Now, if that was the story,
that was it.
We would not be talking about it. We would be like, "Oh, is the child okay?" There would be more concern. That ended up not really being the story last night. It evolved, and it evolved quickly.
Oh, no.
It turns out Jeff Banks, the special teams coach for Texas, for the University of Texas, had, I guess in years past, Patrick, left his wife and kids to be with an exotic dancer who goes, as Patrick pointed out, goes by the stage name of Pole Assassin.
RL is on it. Holy smokes!
And she made her debut on Jerry Springer a while back, and
was on Jerry. None of this is made up. This is why we're kind of starting with this story. This story again, that initial tweet. If you just read the initial one, you were like, "Yeah, that's awful. It's bad news." It then again escalated quickly. It was her monkey. She had a Halloween party in which kids were invited to come and get some candy, but they had to stop at the gate. There's a picture.
There was a haunted house.
Yeah, there was a maze. So it was partially for children, partially, I guess, for adults as well. But I guess kids had to be out by 9 o'clock is the way it says. It says there was a haunted house and a maze on the property between 7 and 9:30 p.m. with adults being allowed to stick around until 11. And then it turns out, I guess, a child wandered into the gate or wandered past. There's
Well,
again,
this part is up. This part is very much disputed. Pole Assassin had put out a video after all of the information came out.
Danny is her name. Let's go
yeah.
with Danny from now on. Just
Danny, Danny made a video of the back, and she deleted it immediately. Walking through the backyard, saying, there's no way this happened. This is what happened. The child walked past this gate and through this sign. People think that she made the signs for the video, and it said "Do not enter," and then "Do not enter gate," and then there's a big giant monkey cage and it says "Stay away, emotional support monkey" inside. So then she deleted that because nobody apparently believes that it's an emotional support monkey. The monkey has performed with her in the past.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Oh.
she was going crazy on Twitter yesterday, apparently. I believe Jeff Banks probably got to her and said, "Hey, you're actually only making things far, far worse right now." So she had to be cut off. I think her Twitter got deleted at the end of the night when it was all said and done.
So that's where we start this morning. We probably needed to get that one in before the car rides start to school here early, is what I figured.
And Jeff Banks, was he at this party? Or
Yeah, presumably, right?
okay.
Yeah. So
boy.
that's where we start. That of all the news yesterday, and it was an interesting day news-wise. We'll get Patrick's NFL take on a big NFL trade. There was some significant injury news that popped out yesterday regarding Jameis Winston and Von Miller was part of the trade. Jameis Winston and Derrick Henry, two big NFL stars go down. That was newsworthy. Dan Mullen last night or yesterday holding having his weekly press conference that then as that escalated, people are not happy with him down there. Florida has shut off media access for the rest of the week. It was an interesting day by the time I got around to doing Heath's show at 4:00, and yet somehow, some way, none of that news compared to what started transpiring roughly around, again, about Eastern time, about 8:30-ish, I reckon, 9 o'clock. So, yeah, 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in this morning at all. Will says, so where does the child come into play here? Like, not at all. No, the child apparently wandered into the gate. And again, details still sketchy. I'm guessing Steve Sarkisian will have to address this. Texas will have to, I'm guessing again. I don't know how exactly this gets handled from a Texas PR standpoint, but I'm assuming that at some point somebody has to say something out there and there has to be some explaining of what's happening.
This monkey's going to have to answer.
The
answer for his crimes.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have to put him in a zoo or something. I don't really know.
I don't. So that was your.
You know what? I stand with the monkey and Pole Assassin on this one, though. I have to imagine that kid was taunting the monkey in some way. Monkeys don't just go out of their way. Trained monkeys don't just go out of their way and bite little kids for no reason. That kid was definitely messing with the monkey.
I don't have enough experience in this field to really comment. I do know
you have enough experience to know that it wouldn't surprise you if a kid was messing with a monkey.
I honestly,
kids are brats.
I have no clue. This is an area that snakes. I'm very familiar with snakes. I've handled snakes. I've wrangled snakes around the neighborhood when they get too close to people's porches. This is not an animal that is in the wheelhouse of me dealing with. So I'm very, very unfamiliar with that. 803-404-6100. Welcome in this morning. Whew, an interesting story to start the day, but certainly there were far actual sporty items that we'll get into. Again, the NFL, Patrick, your wheelhouse yesterday was full of news, and then just ended up with kind of a lot of, I guess, entertainment by the end of the day. Obviously, the game last night. Did you get into the Chiefs at all? Did you?
Yeah, a little bit. I watched a little bit, but I was not into it. I was not going to stay up late. I went to bed pretty early.
Yeah. Again, let's start off with the NFL. Again, a ton going on. Braves World Series tonight. We'll get some college football rankings. We've also got the little bit of action tonight here is some college football gets going. We're at that point in the season where now you get college football Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So that's the good news. But yesterday, where do you even want to start? Because I felt like for midseason, it was one of the newsier days regarding two major injuries and a pretty big trade that I was a big fan of. I'm not a fan of the Rams necessarily per se, but I am a fan of teams pushing all their chips to the center of the table and saying we're completely in.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that's probably the biggest trade. So Von Miller was going to be a free agent. I don't really know. I don't really know how this was going to play out. I mean, this is just a classic case of trading for the player that's about to be a free agent. But I think Von Miller has kind of been through this before and has always been loyal to the Broncos. I mean, he's one of the greatest players in that franchise's history. He's an all-time great pass rusher, which is saying a lot. But I think it was a 2 and a 3. The Rams are going to be sending to Denver for Von Miller, and he's going to immediately add a massive element to that pass rush. I don't know what he's still got left in the tank ultimately, like if they're going to sign him on for a couple more years after this, or this is a full just 1 year, make it a Super Bowl run type of move. But I mean, Leonard Floyd's already there. Obviously, Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in football and commands double teams all the time. So they're both slightly out of their prime, but Aaron Donald's still playing as well as he ever has. I don't know what Von Miller's got left in the tank, but I could see him easily just racking up like half a dozen sacks in this second half of the season just because of Aaron Donald's double teams. He's also been banged up, so I don't know how healthy Von Miller is at this point because he's missed some games this year. But it's a massive trade, at least in the names. I think the names might be a little bit larger than the value of the trade. I don't know that he immediately vaults them to first place in the NFC or makes them head and shoulders above the Bucks for NFC supremacy right now. But that's basically what everybody's going to be looking at is the Bucks and the Rams, and then maybe the Packers. But the Packers roster is so much less complete. It just puts the Rams, I think, kind of in that tier of the Bucks with. You're not going to find many holes on either of these rosters. They're just strong top to bottom.
See, I brought this up yesterday in Heath's show that if you look at the NFC right now, you've got the Cardinals. Or you had the Rams initially. Rams are 7-1, and Matthew Stafford. That trade looks like it's paying off in spades and is very good. But you had the Rams and the Cardinals. You and I discussed it a little bit last Friday just regarding the Packers. You got the Packers. But still, the Packers are probably the least talented team in the NFC. You do have the Bucks, but the Bucks defense, Patrick, is so bad that I really do.
Bucks secondary.
Secondary. Yeah, the secondary is so bad that I really do question them. And then right now the Cowboys are 6-1, and I don't know what you make of the Cowboys 6-1. I don't know if you want to label them a contender or if you want to.
They're a contender. They have to be labeled.
So you look. I mean, you look at that NFC. And then, of course, you look over at the AFC, and I don't know, is it the Bills now after the Titans news? Because we'll transition into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it is. You can't count out the Chiefs at any point because they can just flip that switch, and it's the worst the Chiefs have played since Patrick Mahomes has been there. I don't know. I don't know how to explain what's going on there other than their defense is terrible. But even Patrick Mahomes hasn't looked like the player that he was for his first 3 years, which looked like the greatest quarterback of all time to start a career. So I don't know. I'd probably have to put them in there. The Chargers look really good, but the Titans were one of those teams that, did you think that they were good enough to win the Super Bowl? Maybe not, but what they always seem to do at the end of the season with Derrick Henry just piling on 200-yard game after 200-yard game, it seems like nobody can tackle him in the cold and all these things. So it's actually nice that I'm in Nashville for this because I was just listening. I was just popping on the radio and listening to local sports talk about it. They're having doctors on, all these different things. And really nobody knows what to make of this right now because he's going to get surgery. He's going to get some sort of screw in his foot. And he's going to be out for potentially the whole season, but not guaranteed to be the whole season. So if the Titans can stay alive, which they probably should because their division's really bad, the Colts are not going to do anything. They're not going to go on a run right here and and take the division away from the Titans. So if the Titans can just beat a couple bad teams, their schedule's not totally difficult. The Titans can still potentially make the playoffs, and we could see Derrick Henry at the end of the season. Will Derrick Henry be 100% at the end of the season? If he is able to come back, I don't know. Maybe it'll be a case of he's fully rested and it'll be better for them. But if this does turn into something that takes him out for the rest of the season, the Titans are done. I mean, other than quarterbacks, I'd probably argue that no individual player is more important to their team outside the quarterback position than Derrick Henry to the Titans. Like without Derrick Henry, the Titans have no identity. He is everything to that team. He touches the ball more than any running back. He completely establishes their identity as a downhill running team and opens up. The reason Ryan Tannehill is playing well the last couple of years isn't just because of a change of scenery and he's a new person. It's because Derrick Henry makes everyone's life 1,000 times easier. So it's not just going to be Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown, and Julio Jones getting it done and leading the Titans on a playoff run. They need Derrick Henry back, and without him, that's one less contender in the AFC, and it's going to make things only that much easier for the Bills or the Ravens or the Chargers, whoever it might be that ends up coming out of the AFC.
I brought this up yesterday. Are you familiar? Are you aware of who the Titans' second leading rusher is?
The second leading rusher, or it might be Ryan Tannehill, but I mean Jeremy McNichols is the guy that's going to be picking up for Derrick Henry.
And are you aware of how many carries McNichols has on the season?
Can't be a lot because Derrick Henry never needs to come out of the game. How many carries is it?
7.
20?
7.
Jeez.
So that was my thing. I was asked last night.
We use the term workhorse, but no one even comes close to being a workhorse like Derrick Henry is. He truly is just a different breed and never gets tired, never fumbles the ball, and until now, never gets hurt. This is the first time he's ever missed serious playing time. And he played the game. He came in and played the rest of the game on Sunday in an overtime win after hurting himself.
So we've got that. We'll get more into that. Jameis Winston also suffering a season-ending injury yesterday. I shouldn't say also because, as Patrick just pointed out, Derrick Henry has a chance to come back. There was that big NFL trade. We'll get into the college football playoffs. We have some guests this morning. Perry Orth will join us as he does each and every Tuesday in about an hour, 7:30 a.m. The Gamecocks will start getting ready for Florida, or they probably already started, but Shane Beamer will meet with the media this afternoon. You can hear that right here at about 1:15 on the halftime show with Jay Phillips, Tommy Moody, and Pearson Fowler. So Shane Beamer will start preparing everybody for Florida. And then at 8:20 this morning, Wes Mitchell of Gamecock Central will get a little in-depth look at some recruiting, what happened during the bye week from him, and maybe where South Carolina stands in terms of trying to fill out a class and what they should do with the transfer portal. So you can join us this morning, 803-404-6100, how you can jump in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. I see all the text messages. I'm not sure each and every one of them is readable, but we see them and we appreciate the interaction that you're providing. You can also give us a call on the Love Chevy phone lines, 803-404-6100, and the live stream up and running this morning. DC, RL, Will, Craig, all weighing in, Robin, Anthony. So we got a whole group adding in their opinions. Yes, RL pointing out somehow a child being bit by a monkey is the least interesting part of the story there involving the Texas football assistant head coach. That is actually the truest statement and the saddest statement that I've read, and it's only 6:23 in the morning.
We should put together a press conference bingo card for Steve Sarkisian today. All the terms.
I don't know if he's got it. Texas is at Iowa State this weekend. I've got a feeling he would love to talk about anything other than
shut
that.
Down Breece Hall and Brock Purdy and Charlie Kohler.
Trying to see if his press conference is today. Again, if you want to weigh in,
he says the word poll assassin, Bill's buying donuts for all of the listeners tomorrow.
We're all going down to Brian Glenn's to Village Idiot to celebrate. 803-404-6100, how you can join us this morning. Again, the live stream up and running. Go to the YouTube page, 1075 The Game. You can go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game. You can also check us out on Facebook as well and get involved. Go to the 1075 The Game Facebook page and see all of our smiling faces on a Tuesday morning. You're listening to the early game on 1075 The Game.
All right. Trying to wake up here. See if that's an echo. Because what happens is I cut the mic. I cut the sound back on so I can hear Patrick through here. Let's see here.
It should be good now. I muted the program feed. During the breaks, we'll just switch off muting your laptop and the program feed.
As long as you know what you're doing, I trust you.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Why did I do it? There we go. All right, I think we're successfully put out to all the different places there. And Edmonton won last night. Also, did you see that weird picture that that Heath decided to put up of? I guess that was a statue of a girl with a shark head.
I guess that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That crazy Heath Klein and his bouncing around. Oh, money-wise, has the worst college in every state.
The worst college, like academically?
I don't know. Americans agree these are the worst colleges in the U.S.
Oh, boy.
From March 26th of 2001. I'm not going to read it. A 51-page slideshow.
Too much.
We're just going to avoid that one. It was a promoted tweet on Twitter.
You see Jimmy Lake getting dragged for what he said?
Who?
Jimmy Lake.
What'd he say?
Was basically asked some sort of question about recruiting competitions with Oregon, and he was trying to put down Oregon and saying that Washington goes for their biggest recruiting is against smart schools, basically, but used the phrase "we recruit against teams that are schools that are more academically prowess," which grammatically doesn't make any sense, and it's getting ripped for it. Like, dude, if you're trying to put down one school to talk about how smart your school is,
yeah, you might want
to use the correct verbiage.
All right. Oh, look at that camera. So I got that camera over there now. Of course, I guess you got to set up that way. It's not showcasing me, but yeah, you guys missed a very entertaining. All I did was mention planes, trains, and automobiles at I don't know, somewhere around 5:30 yesterday. And a very nice man, Charles, called in, and I'm pretty sure there's no way he didn't call in with the intention of like just completely telling some story of his own personal planes, trains, and automobiles about getting stuck in Toronto. And dude, you can go read the Twitter line. It's the first time, Patrick, you can read the Twitter line. I started responding just to everybody on the Twitter line. And then what made it either funnier or worse, depending on how you look at it, is I followed up his call with Gamecock Larry.
Has Gamecock Larry seen plane, trains, and automobiles?
He had not.
It's unfortunate.
Do you want to play any Frank? I played a little bit of Frank Martin. We can play his opening about 6 minutes if you want to.
I don't listen to any of it.
Huh?
So I haven't heard any of it. I saw some of the quotes.
Yeah, I could Jen could just play the opening 6 minutes or whatever. I think I played 9 yesterday. Jen, I don't think Dave cut any of it. I think it's just I think we just played it straight out. Frank talked for 40 or 45 minutes, but just at the end of Heath's show, I played about 40 minutes.
We'll get back in. I'll see if I can find that.
6:32 on a Tuesday morning. Supposed to be kind of nice today.
Get into the 70s. I believe actually that today is one of the final days this week that will be into the 70s. Jen, I don't think I listened to you give a weather report just yet.
You never do, but that's okay.
Nah, I really don't. I do my own weather reports on this show. Yeah, tomorrow is supposed to be a high of 60, and then we drop into the mid to low 50s starting Thursday. 74 today, 60 tomorrow, 52 on Thursday, 56 on Friday, and again, the high on Saturday, 59. Patrick, it's going to be chilly at kickoff. Do you have an opinion whether that favors South? Like, does that help or does that matter? This is a Florida team, by the way, Patrick, if you were looking at it, there's a lot of interesting things happening down there in Gainesville right now. Tomorrow morning, we'll catch up with David Waters of Gator Breakdown. He'll give us a little bit more insight. But yesterday, Dan Mullen having a press conference, his recruiting being brought into question. It didn't help that over the weekend, basically Kirby Smart said great coaching cannot out-coach great recruiting. Dan Mullen asked yesterday about if they need to change their recruiting practices. He said, we'll worry about that during recruiting season. I don't know if South Carolina's catching them at a right time. It's hard to say what exactly is going on with Florida at this moment in time.
I guess there's only one way to find out. I mean, will Florida respond to this and play really hard and play really well for their coach? I feel like the way the energy and the way Florida comes out on Saturday will be kind of, even if it's not fair, will really shape how people feel about Dan Mullen. I mean, if they come out inspired and fired up and flying around and just smoke South Carolina, people will say, okay, well, maybe they got this thing turned around. It was a little bit of a rough patch. Everybody goes through that. But if they come out flat and South Carolina can get on top of them early and things are going well, and Florida can't really answer the atmosphere, not that I really know what the atmosphere is going to be like. I'm expecting it to be pretty good, though. Then we're really going to have to question whether this team cares about Dan Mullen. It's these things come up every once in a while. I mean, Illinois answered the call last week or 2 weeks ago against Penn State when Brett Bielema basically called out their entire roster and said, you guys all stink to the media. And then they came out and just won a big game against Penn State. So will Florida be able to answer the bell and play hard for their coach and make him look good? Because if they just come out and don't play well and South Carolina can win this game, especially win this game, but if Florida maybe wins by field goal or a touchdown and it's close the entire time when they're 20-point favorites, it's not going to reflect well upon Dan Mullen.
The problem here is you don't have Dan Mullen calling out his own team. There's also a weird picture that someone confirmed to me was not just a weird angle taken post-game where Florida players, as you see most teams do, stick around for the post-game alma mater, win or lose. They go over and take a picture. I saw the picture pop up Sunday, I guess around lunchtime or something, and it's Jordan Pouncey, one of the Florida linemen, kind of standing over there doing the post game alma mater. I thought it was just an angle taken and somebody trying to create a stir and pointing out saying Florida's divided. I'd like two people confirmed to me yesterday. Most of the team, whether it was a misunderstanding or anger or whatever it is, most of the team just walked off the field after the game against Georgia. And that Georgia game was kind of strange. It was a close game. Florida was competing. There's the weird fumble by Anthony Richardson that gives Georgia the ball at the 11. They end up scoring a touchdown. Georgia would hit a one play, about a 40-yard touchdown pass to Karis Jackson a few plays later to make it 17-0. And then there was the pick six right before halftime, and that was ball game, 24-0. But Patrick, in this situation, the players are not really being called out by Dan Mullen or the fan base. It's Dan Mullen who's under complete criticism.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a big part of coaching is being able to keep the team inspired when there's nothing to play for. And not that Florida has nothing to play for, but when you go to Florida and you're ranked, do you remember what they were ranked preseason? It was top 10, right?
I believe it was in the top 10, yeah.
Yeah, so when you're ranked top 10 in the preseason, you're playing for a college football playoff. You're playing to get to Atlanta. You're playing for a New Year's Six Bowl, something along those lines. And when all of that is out the door, can you keep your team inspired? Can you get them to rally? You had a quarterback change on Saturday that did not work out at all. Can you rally the team? I don't know what if the locker room was behind Emory Jones the entire time, or they wanted Anthony Richardson, or they didn't really care. But I mean, you have to be able to keep the team together, and that's what Shane Beamer's challenge has been, or is going to be this year, is keeping these guys inspired and teaching them that convincing them that it's a multi-year process and stick around and stick with it, and it'll get better. Dan Mullen has a little bit different of a pitch because they committed to a ready-made, ready to compete for championships team, and they were in Atlanta last year for the SEC championship, and now they're not very good. So will they just pack it up and quit? Will their NFL players just mail it in and say, I'm going to opt out for the rest of the season, or just show up and go through the motions, or will they actually come out inspired and have a good end of the season? They will really say a lot about Dan Mullen's ability as a coach. Like, we know he can scheme up offense and all these things, but we don't really know how he is in the locker room. We don't know how he is in the living room, clearly. And they're 4-4, and they could easily end this thing 500 or worse.
They could. I think it's more likely. Again, the Vegas spread opened at 20. It's down to 18, but that's not exactly a drastic drop. But it does give you an idea of what Vegas thinks about this game when you see a point spread that is that large for a home game for South Carolina. And as you pointed out, Florida's reeling. This is a weird Florida team and a very interesting Florida team. Emory Jones, Patrick, you and I seemed kind of dumbfounded, curious. We were at least I was confused as to why Emory Jones was getting so much preseason love from like NFL draft rankings. I think we saw one that had him like top 15.
Well, I did listen to that person talk about it, and he did say that this was just like a shot in the dark. At some point, you got to just throw a dart and say, I'll be the one to call it if not. But because Emory Jones does have a rocket arm and he is a good athlete. As far as the preseason recognition, I think it was more just people putting their faith in Dan Mullen and saying, hey, he's got a really good athlete at the quarterback position. He likes to run his quarterbacks, and I'm confident that he's going to be able to make something work with this guy. But he didn't do anything to earn it, for sure, Emory Jones at least.
Biggest concern that I would have for this game, and again, mentioning the weather, it's going to be probably high 40s at kickoff, is South Carolina stopping the run. Patrick, you look at this particular game going in, the two leading rushers for Florida are the two quarterbacks. Emory Jones with 90 carries for 517 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. Anthony Richardson, the backup quarterback, 6'3", about 240 pounds, has been the more dynamic runner of the two. He's got 40 carries for 374 yards. That's a 9.4 yard per carry average, including an 80-yard touchdown run. And he's got 3 touchdowns. Dameon Pierce is the top running back that they have, 55 carries for 331 yards and 8 touchdowns. That, in my opinion, and maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't, that's how Florida beat South Carolina on Saturday night, is they just line up and run the ball down South Carolina's throat, which, look, you've kind of seen happen at times. South Carolina couldn't really stop Kentucky, when Kentucky wanted to run the football, Kentucky kind of tripped over their own feet there or fumbled the football and then had to throw. Tennessee, when they needed to, ran the football effectively. And this is one of the better running football teams South Carolina is going to face.
Yeah, and the running back, South Carolina hasn't faced a quarterback like this in terms of 240 pounds is very difficult to tackle, not just because he's heavy and strong and powerful, but he's super fast. I mean, you watch some of his breakaway runs, like his 80-yard run, he's pulling away from linebackers and defensive backs. He is a freak athlete, and I think that's what Dan Mullen gets a lot of credit for as an offensive coordinator, is just using that quarterback as just the extra body that the defense has to account for, and he does a very good job of it. So Florida's got big wide receivers. I mean, Justin Shorter's a big guy. Like, I can totally see a scenario where Florida is going to be trying to run the ball, and just set that up for deep shots. If South Carolina's got to consistently have single coverage on the outsides, there's no Kadarius Toney, there's no Kyle Pitts on this team, there's no first-round wide receiver that you have to be super concerned about. But, I mean, Justin Shorter was the number one ranked wide receiver in the country coming out. I think he went to Penn State. Jacob Copeland's played a lot of football for them. They have guys that can beat you, and especially if you're talking about starting first-year FBS players, fresh out of JUCO, having to go one-on-one on the outsides with these Florida receivers, because South Carolina just needs to devote everybody into the box that they can to stop Anthony Richardson or Emory Jones or whoever's in at quarterback.
This will also be an interesting test for, and maybe not a test. Maybe test is not the right word, but I do think it's an interesting insight to how Shane Beamer prepares his team off of a bye week. Will Muschamp actually his team seemed to play pretty well off of bye weeks during his tenure. I mean, certainly the one that we're all going to remember is coming off of the bye week and going to Georgia and winning that game in 2019. How exactly does Shane Beamer's team perform after a bye week? A chance to make some changes. We'll again see if Jason Brown ends up being the guy at quarterback. That's the way it appears based on what Shane had to say on Sunday night during his teleconference. But Patrick, I think that's another part as we learn about Shane Beamer as a head coach and his staff being able to put together a game plan and prepare and make small adjustments coming off of a really, really bad performance in College Station. How does Shane Beamer and this staff have this team ready to play? According to Shane, all but Rick Sandage appeared to be in pretty good health. Now they don't expect Rick Sandage to be back for the remainder of the season, but health should not be a major problem. Again, Luke Doty out for the remainder of the season as well. We all know that. But in terms of minor bumps and bruises, Shane on Sunday night saying that most of them are much better. They're a lot healthier. I think this is another part of us learning about Shane Beamer as a head coach and how he prepares his team off a bye week.
Well, we just spent that last segment talking about slowing down the Florida offense, but I mean, for South Carolina fans, all eyes are going to be on that offense. And you had 2 weeks to prepare for a bad Florida defense, a defense that their own fan base is sick and tired of and wants their defensive coordinator gone for the third year in a row. Can you use this time to make something work? I mean, this is really Marcus Satterfield's last chance at this point, because you're going to have fans in the stadium. It's going to be a night game. It's a bad defense. Yeah, Missouri's a bad defense next week too. So really, this is a 2-week span where you can kind of make some hay. And will they be able to scheme something up? Will there be a definitive plan coming into the game? Like, here's what we're doing. We're targeting the tight ends, or we have this plan in the running game. We're putting everything to the outside. We're going to come out with a fullback and line up with a fullback every single play. Or will it be just kind of a mishmash of a random motion and things that aren't working and passes behind the line of scrimmage that are getting snuffed out from the very start? Is it going to look like there's a coherent plan from the offense? And will they have to adjust? And will you have a backup plan? You can't just spend 2 weeks working on one thing, because then if Florida keys on that and it works, you don't have a plan B, and we're just running in place. And it's just kind of been what it is. So I will be more interested to see the offense. Will we do anything different? Will you come out with a tight end? Will Jaheim Bell be lined up as an H-back all the time, and you able to do cool things with him? Will there be deep shots, and will there be something working on the offensive side?
That's a lot. We'll get into it. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. Again, Shane Beamer will speak today at about 1:15. You'll be able to hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. Coming up in about 45 minutes, we will talk with Perry Orth, get his thoughts on what he sees or what adjustments he wants to see from South Carolina coming out of a bye week. And again, at 8:20 this morning, we'll catch up with Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central to get his thoughts on where South Carolina stands with recruiting and maybe some of the things he's hearing from the Gamecocks, what adjustments may be made as they come out of the bye week. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Yeah, you've heard me ask you before, and I still don't know the answer to this. Algicide, what exactly does it do for your pool? I have no clue, but I don't need to know. I'm not the expert. That's why when I need expert opinions on pools, I go to Tracy Corley. 20 plus years in the business. He knows exactly how to maintain and take care of your pool. And a lot of people think, well, it's the off season. I don't need to worry about my pool. I'm not jumping in. I'll just take care of it in spring. That's not true at all. It's actually more affordable for you to continue to maintain your pool with Corley Pool Solutions than it is to just stop, let it get green and murky, let the mosquitoes build some homes in there, and not be an attractive looking spot in your backyard during the winter months. You need to call Corley Pool Solutions and continue to have that pool maintained. 803-445-8109. In fact, a lot of you may want to sit out back here at Thanksgiving and deep fry your turkey, kind of enjoy the ambiance of your pool outside. Maybe you've got a Christmas party lined up and you like to decorate the pool with lights and have people up back, use it more of a hosting area. But if your pool is nasty, disgusting, you don't want people out there like making smart comments away from you about how bad your pool is. Continue to have that pool maintained. Flat rate pricing, including all the chemicals, because continuing to maintain that pool, again, more affordable than starting all over when you're ready to use it in March. 803-445-8109. Again, Corley Pool Solutions is exactly who you need to be in touch with right now to keep that pool maintained. 803-445-8109.
I'm more interested in the first round of high school playoffs than I am with Carolina football. And I'd say that's most people who like football. From Richard. I don't think so.
What?
Richard says that most people who like football will be more interested in high school playoffs than
Yeah. I was just going back and looking at some of his text messages. At least he sounds like he likes to just be part of the conversation. Just get involved, be part of the conversation. That's all right. I'm not real sure what got into me last night, but I ended up staying up till midnight, just sitting there watching Edmonton and whoever else, Edmonton and the Kraken. Edmonton's good. Thank you. Trans-Siberian Orchestra again, huh? I think Jen's as awake as we are. November. All right, so did we determine I get an extra hour of sleep on Saturday? That's what
Yes.
you guys are telling me?
Yes. I got my flu shot yesterday afternoon, and today I'm just kind of.
Yeah, like I said, I just didn't. It wasn't that I don't know. I just ended up with some weird energy after Heath's show, and kind of just sat there and watched, like at 7 o'clock, just ate a little bit of buffalo chicken dip and started watching stuff.
That sounds good.
Big times. What's up, TK? Good to see you this morning. Glad you're awake. Todd did not respond to any of our group text messages last night when I was sitting there drinking bourbon late. Now that I go back and look at all our text messages. Yeah, I just couldn't go to sleep. Nothing like sleeping 5 hours. Sleeping for 5 hours and getting up. And then I was about to get upset at Dunkin' Donuts. They were taking forever just to fix one coffee.
Gonna have to learn to fix it yourself. Say, hey, I'll come in.
Yeah, I got to get back into making the coffee at the house. I'm nickel and diming myself $3.15 every morning. Patrick, did you see any of those new kind of sci-fi or horror movies over the weekend? The Last Night in Soho or Antlers? Did you make it to any of them?
I won't watch those.
Really?
Last Night in Soho, I'm maybe intrigued by, but Antlers is like just a classic monster horror film. No, can't do it.
Did you see Antlers actually got really good reviews? Like for everything about it.
Because that A24 is the studio that made that, and A24 is like the hot new studio that everyone goes crazy for everything they make. Not me though. I can go for like the psychological thrillers or something along those lines, but the straight up just horror movies like ghosts or monsters or anything along those lines, I'm out.
I don't even want psychological because then it just psychologically messes with me for a couple days.
Yeah, they're almost scary, but like things like Shutter Island's an awesome movie. Even like I would probably consider Silence of the Lambs that, because it's just kind of like a crazy guy. It's not a classic horror movie, but it is still scary. Things along those lines.
We're about to head back in.
Now you ought to read I guess like how they did that movie, the Antlers movie, about like the setup, and I guess it's in Oregon, and obviously the monster in it is the key, the Wendigo or whatever.
I don't even know.
It's actually, it had really good reviews, like just in terms of how they shot it and kind of some of the underlying like tones of the movie.
Yep.
Well, we still have Thanksgiving to go, and that excites me. I think, were we talking last week about deep frying stuff for Thanksgiving?
Yep.
I think you're talking about doing oysters. I think you've convinced me that there will be oysters at the Gunner Thanksgiving this year.
They're easy to do. You can buy oysters. They don't have to be, freshly picked. You can just buy a little thing of them at the grocery store. Throw them in some flour and make a little breading for them. Easy.
I think we're just gonna roast them, or out back. I think hopefully it's gonna be nice. I don't have the weather report.
You gotta bread them though.
No, just steamed oysters and hot sauce and horseradish.
It's not deep fried.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean. I meant deep fry a turkey, but yeah,
Pan fry.
Who knows? We may even do it. But after Thanksgiving, I need to remind you about the Trans-Siberian Orchestra coming to Columbia Wednesday, December 8th at Colonial Life Arena. A portion of the proceeds will benefit Family Promise of the Midlands, a charity that aims to help families experiencing homelessness in their quest to achieve sustainable independent. Tickets are on sale now. Again, Wednesday, December 8th, Trans-Siberian Orchestra at Colonial Life Arena. Speaking of Colonial Life Arena, last night, South Carolina's #1 ranked women's basketball team exhibition game against Benedict, 98-41. It was close. It was close for a little while, Patrick. South Carolina was up 20-17 after just 10 minutes, but then
without Zaya Cook too, I think.
Yeah, so it's men's team exhibition game against Benedict on Thursday night. We'll talk a little basketball maybe in the next hour maybe in the next day or two. Perry Orth coming up in about 35 minutes. Wes Mitchell of Gamecock Central at 8:20. In between, if you want to join us, 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game on a Tuesday morning. Bill Gunner, Patrick Pratt, and Jen Jensen.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKTFP Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus Media
All righty. Excitement.
I gotta get a paper towel here. I get yelled at for the little rings on the.
Oh yeah, you get busted, man.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children. According to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. So, 82% of you listening will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. 82% of you will note that if you're hiring, ZipRecruiter finds qualified people for your job. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And 82% of you will remember that you can try ZipRecruiter for free, but you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Patrick, hold down the fort.
All right. Oh. It's been very sleepy. Yeah, Greg, it is a strong stage name. If you haven't seen the Jerry Springer video, she earned an nickname though. I kind of missed out on Jerry Springer. I think I was a little bit too young for Jerry Springer. Or in its prime, at least. I'll be back on Friday. Nashville. I'm on vacation from my other job, so I'm just in Nashville for the week. Gonna do the show here Thursday. Drive back to Greenville. Meet my sister for dinner. Then back to Columbia for Friday morning. When you do the Dunkin' app like this, do you go through the drive-thru still? Because that's always been my issue is you still get stuck in the drive-thru if it's long and you have to just wait to the window.
Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at SelectQuote. Premium can vary depending on your health, insurance company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Everything was a lot different back then.
Whoa. $10 for tickets to Truist Park for the away game. That's kind of fun. $75 you can be on the grass.
You're listening to CBS Sports Radio, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all live. CBS Sports Flash is sponsored by Love Chevrolet. Buy your new Chevy from the dealership with the largest selection, the lowest price guaranteed, and none of the price hiding add-ons. Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Marcusville, and lovechevy.com. Find new roads. Welcome to the early game. 107.5 The Game.
Phoenix is declining Jalen Smith's third-year rookie offer. Yikes. Top 10 pick 2 years ago.
Where the leader is always prepared to grab it.
Oh,
107.5 The Game.
you're up.
World Series tonight, Patrick. Anything special? Playing Patrick up in Nashville, hanging out and enjoying a good time right now. You got anything special? Or are we going to get into the World Series? A 7:09 start.
time for you tonight. 8:09 for us here on the East Coast, so maybe a little bit earlier. But game 6, got a big trip planned to a beer garden or a establishment.
No, we are doing we're doing trivia at an arcade. So I think the arcade will actually have lots of TVs.
That sounds
I didn't
fun.
really think about the World Series when I was playing that, but now I'm looking at pictures of the place. So arcade or trivia starts at 8:00, so I'm sure we'll be there around that 7 p.m. area. And yeah, now I'm looking at pictures. There are lots of TVs, so I guess I will be watching the World Series.
What is the theme for the trivia? There's usually always a theme, like.
I don't know if there's a theme or not. It's like apparently the same trivia company goes around to all of the local trivia nights. I'm going to be looking that up. As far as I know, it's just traditional trivia. But we feel like we have a good squad put together for tonight.
Oh, okay. So some confidence there, Patrick Brett.
I love trivia. There's not much better than trivia night.
That's fun.
He'll be back in studio with us on Friday for Donut Friday, of course. He would never miss one of those, although you did have some delicious-looking donuts, I think, over the weekend that you showed yesterday on the live stream. If you want to weigh in this morning, 803-404-6100, how you can do so this morning, Cool Care Heating and Air text line or the Love Chevy phone lines. Again, tonight, Game 6 of the World Series. Wes Mitchell's a big Braves fan. We'll get his take on that coming up at about 8:20 this morning. Coming up in about 25 minutes, we'll catch up with Perry Orth as well. And, Patrick, we've kind of talked a little bit about it this morning. South Carolina and Florida. I really am interested because we're learning And somebody brought up, and I'll ask you this: we're learning about Shane Beamer as a head coach, how he does things, how he speaks to the media. There's been a lot of talk about kind of just the positive reinforcement that he will show even when his team is down. To me, this is another part of being a coach, how your team comes out after a bye week, what you've done to prepare them. Have you made simple adjustments? You made a great point in the last segment there about, or I guess 2 segments ago, about Marcus Satterfield and the offense. What changes have they made to go out and be competitive? If South Carolina had a competent offense, Patrick, if they had an offense that had showed pretty much anything at all, I think we'd all kind of look at this game as a chance to steal a victory over a brand name team in Florida. But because we have not seen anything from the offense that I think provides any hope to people, it's hard to pick South Carolina even getting to 17 points offensively, which makes it very difficult to win.
Well, that's why I don't think we were talking about the spread yesterday. I don't think the spread is that absurd. Would anyone be stunned if South Carolina lost, let's say 35-17? I mean, that's a pretty easy cover, and that feels like a very doable score. So no, I think they're going to struggle. I mean, the Florida defense is not very good, but will South Carolina have a clear plan in the run game? Will we see Zaquandre White before the third quarter this time, because he's clearly given a jolt of energy to the offense every time he's been on the field? Like, that would be something if we go out there in the first drive, it's Zaquandre White, and that's what we see, and he's getting to the outside and making things happen. That I would like to see. Or if Nick Muse and Jaheim Bell each get targeted twice on the first drive, and we're just not a 3-and-out on the first drive. That'll honestly probably be the most disappointing thing with 2 weeks, and you have time to work on all of these plays and get them exactly right. If somebody screws something up in the first drive and South Carolina goes 3-and-out, that'll be the most disappointing thing imaginable.
Yeah, I mean, again, we'll hear from Shane Beamer today. We'll see if he goes ahead and names Jason Brown as the starting quarterback for the week. I don't know, no real reason, in my opinion, to try and hide anything from Florida. Florida's got their own set of issues this coming weekend.
What could they do anyway, right? Like, even if you say, yeah, we're going with Jason Brown, I mean, Florida's going to watch the 10 passes or whatever it is that Jason Brown has attempted. They're really not going to glean anything from that, right?
I don't know if they're going to get anything. I mean, quite honestly, while it is Jason Brown that you're watching, some of it is trying to figure out what exactly the South Carolina offense is and what you've got to line up to stop. I don't know what's there that you necessarily like really focus in on. So I guess the point being is today, you come out, we'll see what Shane has to say. I don't expect it to be a very newsy press conference from him. Again, yesterday, Dan Mullen having his press conference for the week, and it went so poorly. Florida just shut down media availability for players and coaches for the rest of the week. Patrick, Dan Mullen is such an interesting football coach, because I really do think in terms of coaches, in terms of scheming things up, knowing what to do, he's one of the top 3 or 4 in the SEC. The recruiting aspect of it at Florida, though, you've got to be able to recruit. And the statistic that I gave last night that was on one of the websites that I read over the weekend, in the last 4 years, and again, Florida is competing with Georgia. Like, Florida is not looking at South Carolina being like, yeah, we should be better than them. Florida's looking at Georgia going, we should be equal to them, if not better, and winning the SEC East like we did last year and going to Atlanta. Over the last 4 years, Georgia's recruited 25-star players. 25-star players over the last 4 years. Florida has landed 4 5-star players. That is the difference in those two programs. And that's why a lot of people are kind of on Dan Mullen right now, because, yeah, hey, your coaching's not bad. You're getting walloped on the recruiting trail, and you're not even coming close to competing with Georgia at this point in time. Remember, all those guys that left last year, Kyle Trask, Kadarius Toney, Kyle Pitts, they were left to him by the previous staff.
Well, I think just the fact that he used the phrase recruiting season yesterday, you usually don't hear great recruiting coaches use that phrase, right? Like, recruiting never ends for them. I mean, you're always pitching your program. You're always selling your program. I didn't hear the full answers. All I saw was, we'll worry about that during recruiting season, like you mentioned on the show. I don't know what it is. Is it he just doesn't care? I mean, Florida does recruit itself. Is Kirby Smart an incredible recruiter, or is it just Georgia is that easy to recruit to if you put in the time and put in the effort and deploy your resources the right way? What is going wrong? And I really just cannot understand that part of it. Is Dan Mullen unlikable? I could totally see him going into a recruit's house and not being very friendly, or moms not liking him because he's a little like quirky and kind of rude, probably.
I think
I don't know what do you think the deal is there?
I just look at recruiting. It's a sales job. It's anybody. People out there at 7:10 here on Tuesday morning. There are people who
But
are
he
not.
can sell. He can sell. I'll put you in the first round.
But it's still.
take you to
I
the
think.
SEC
I think, and I
championship.
say that we're sitting here on a Tuesday morning. There are people that are getting their cars. You're taking your kids to school. You don't have college football jobs, but there are people out there in sales that are going to work, that are listening right now, and they can understand. There are people. There are either employees they know, or there are people that they know that are just great salesmen, and they can go out and you can go into and you can just close the deal. And some of it is the product you're selling. I mean, Nick Saban doesn't have to be the world's best salesman to sell the University of Alabama and winning championships. Some people do. And Dan Mullen, to an extent, there's work that's required on it. You being a college football, I don't know. I think we see the dollar signs behind being a college football coach at times, and you think, man, that'd be a great job to have. Recruiting 18 to 22-year-olds is an absolute nightmare, to be quite honest. It's an absolute nightmare. From my time doing recruiting, when I say my time doing recruiting, I didn't recruit players, but my time covering recruiting for ESPN and for 24/7 Sports, talking to coaches about it. I mean, it's hard to be a family man and then also be having text message conversations with 16, 17, 18-year-old kids and staying on the phone with showing them attention and love and trying to convince them that your school is the place to go. It's not the most fun job in the world. It's great if you're winning and your family can thoroughly enjoy it. I'll never forget the interview we had with Will Muschamp, where he said something that made all the sense in the world. And he was talking about the house that he had purchased on the lake and all the stuff that he'd done. He said, look, I'm gone basically 300 days a year. I'm recruiting. I'm trying to build this program. My family better enjoy. I better have it where my family can enjoy the life we live, because I'm not around to enjoy it with them.
Well, so I was just thinking about, is Georgia, I think, is similar to LSU in that they're really the only game in town. Like, Kirby Smart's not going out there and convincing kids to come to Georgia instead of Georgia Tech. Is that why, like, do you think that Dan Mullen would thrive in more of a situation like that? Like, if Dan Mullen said, I'm leaving, and LSU just somehow offered him the LSU job, do you not think that he'd be better at recruiting a school like that because there's no one to recruit against? Like, there are challenges in Florida that are different when you have multiple other Power 5 schools in that state, right? Like, if you go into Southern Florida and try to sell a kid at Florida, they could just, you're hearing the same pitch from Miami, aren't you? Or Florida State. Like,
look, Florida recruits itself. You shouldn't have. There's
but
no.
If you go to a kid in like Baton Rouge or a kid from New Orleans, like, they're really not thinking about anything but LSU.
I mean,
or a kid in the Atlanta area, like, is going to Georgia.
You can't
give them the offer.
You can't give them that opportunity. You can't, if you're for New Orleans, for Louisiana, you can't give. I mean, again, you're talking elite level recruits, 4 or 5 star guys who can go to wherever they want to go. Jokingly, I guess now Texas has got new recruiting strategies. Maybe they're using that their assistant coaches are using. That could be difficult to beat. Alabama's offering national championships. Georgia is offering. I mean, again, it's. I don't think it's just as simple as a kid in that area says, "Oh, this is what I've grown up. This is the only thing I know. Let me go here." Also, so many games are on television now. This is the weird thing. I was talking to a coach about this a couple of weeks ago, and it's just kind of an interesting concept. Even go back 10 or 15 years ago, and South Carolina fans probably remember this pretty well. There were games that were on pay-per-view. Patrick, do you remember the pay-per-view era? Yeah, of college football games. Like, games are you can access pretty much any college football game now.
If you have the ESPN app, you can watch anything.
So 803-404-6100. We'll continue to talk about that. Perry Orth coming up here in about 15 minutes. We want to get to him and give him plenty of time this morning to allow him to express his thoughts and opinions, because we know some of you weighing in on the offense, and we want to get Perry's take as well. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. My personal favorite time of the year, it's Thanksgiving. That also means family coming over, turkeys being deep fried, you got stuffing, whatever, you got all kinds of great food. That also means people spilling it on your carpet. Now you got two options here. You got two options, or you can do it both ways. You got people coming over. You want your house to look clean. So you can call Zero Res right now and go ahead and book your cleaning for pre-Thanksgiving. So when all the family comes over, they'll tell you, they'll compliment you. They'll say, hey, great turkey, but man, those carpets, the rugs, they look fantastic. Or you can go the other way. You don't have to worry about impressing them for Thanksgiving. You know they're going to make a mess. You know they're going to track dirt and mud and all kind of stuff in your house. You can schedule Zero Res for the post-Thanksgiving cleaning. Whatever it is, Zero Res cleans with their patented technology that uses high pH electrolyzed water, not harsh chemicals, no sticky, soapy residue that is left behind. It's ZR water. The technology is absolutely incredible and scientifically proven to get your carpet, rugs, tile, and upholstery insanely clean. So you need to think about what you want to do here. Maybe you want to schedule two cleanings because you want your house to look beautiful before Thanksgiving, and then after the family comes over and makes it all messy, you want to get it clean again afterwards. Whatever is best for you, call Zero Res today and get those cleanings booked. 803-262-4020. You can book online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Right now, get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. And when you can mention my name, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. Again, 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. That phone number again, 803-262-4020, or you can book online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. You got the puppy dog?
Yeah, getting ready to take her
No
on.
outfit for him this morning?
Her. Actually, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, we do.
Need to get whatever the what's the dog's name? Do we remember? Polly?
Isn't that it?
Yeah, Jen, we need to get Polly her own camera angle.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Just strap a camera to her and let her wander around the house, so that's the other part of the live stream.
Yeah, this is
That'd
one
be
of her
amazing.
favorite. This is one of her favorite outfits. Stegosaurus.
Stop it. Oh my
I don't
God.
know. She looks embarrassed to be on the camera in the Stegosaurus outfit.
She ran away because there's toast being made. She can smell it.
Oh, yeah, she isn't stupid.
We're gonna try and hit the break kind of early here so you can bounce out, and I can get about 30 minutes in with Perry, and then you can get on back.
Yeah, I'll be back before the end of the hour.
Yeah. Strap a camera to the dog. Let's just get Let's get Polly view throughout the live stream.
Dog's gone wild.
Just her view of how things are going all morning.
She does have a unique view. She's very low to the ground. Everything's very big for her. This has been her best week. Going to be her best week of the year.
Well, why is that?
Just because she has someone to hang out with. during the day.
During the day. What do you do during the day? You go back to sleep, or you hang out with the dog, or?
Yesterday, I slept until 1 because I didn't really sleep at night. We went on a 2 a.m. checkers run,
Oh, wow.
and then I just kind of stayed up. Today, I don't know. Today, I'm definitely going to nap, but I don't think I'm going to nap as long. I was planning on going to the movies a couple times this week, but I don't think that's going to happen.
What else is that? What else has come out now? I feel like there's a bunch of movies coming out right now.
Yeah, I mean, like I might see the James Bond movie, but I'm not totally pressed to go out and drive 15 minutes to the movies to spend 3 hours there. It's a 2-hour, 45-minute movie.
You've been
There's
talking
not
about
one
that
within
James
walking
Bond
distance?
movie for a while now.
Yeah, I do want to see it, but I kind of just want to watch it at my house. I saw Dune, and Dune was awesome.
Bond that's one movie that is any of those are just if you can see it on the big screen at least once, they're
Yeah, and this is the last one, or the last one for Daniel Craig at least.
yeah. I can't imagine they're just going to end James Bond. There was talk that there might be a female Bond.
I don't know if that's still the case. I thought Tom Hardy was going to be the next Bond.
Is that who it is?
Tom Hardy was,
I think that's what the plan was.
but he's not now.
Well, I don't know if they even have the 17 actors who could replace Daniel Craig as 007.
I could get on board with Tom Hardy. That'd be a good one.
But they should. I would assume they'll take a couple years off. They should at least. We don't need a James Bond movie every year.
I liked the discussion. What was it? We've had enough good-looking, non-smiling James Bonds. We need a Ron Swanson. Who is like the three that they suggested they're like slightly overweight and.
That's like, well, I always think on the shows like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, are there not any just normal people that enjoy a good donut every once in a while that maybe
We've talked about that too. Yeah, they don't have to look like that.
No.
What was the big
you, they
reveal? What was I watching the other day? I was watching something sports on I think isn't it in The Bachelor on ABC?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so whatever football game, and like the girl, there was a big secret that was going to be revealed within the first few minutes, and then it showed her in a very emotional, tearful thing where she had to. She's like, "I know you guys have heard the rumors, so I need to address them."
The Bachelor is terrible about hyping things up and then going a whole episode and teasing the same thing going into every single break and then not giving it away in that episode. Like you'll see the same promos in every single commercial break.
Yeah. You're up.
Okay.
Our phone number 803-404-6100. We're here for about another hour and 37 minutes. You can get in touch with us. Coming up in about 10 minutes, though, Perry Orth will join us to give his takes on South Carolina football. Coming up at 8:20 this morning. Wes Mitchell of GamecockCentral.com will join us as well to kind of tell us what he's heard, both recruiting-wise and within the team coming off of the bye week. But anything that you want to speak of that we're not actually on air for you to call into, don't worry. 107.5 The Game in Twin Peaks give you the opportunity to speak your mind whenever you feel like it. The Hot Take Hotline, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 803-978-6654. You can call that Twin Peaks Hot Take Hotline anytime. So if you can't reach myself or Patrick or Jen in the morning, Jay or Tommy to yell at them in the afternoon, if you don't like something Heath Klein says, but you don't have the opportunity, call the 107.5 The Game in Twin Peaks Hot Take Hotline. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 803-978-6654. All you need to do to vent to us, sponsored by Twin Peaks for the men who never settle. Go see him down in the Vista, 600 Gervais Street.
I think the Steve Sarkisian press conference already happened, by the way.
Oh, did he speak yesterday?
Yeah, I don't think we'll be hearing about the incident, we'll just call it. I don't think we'll be hearing about that till next week.
It's a shame. I think that
seen
at some
yesterday.
point there has to be some addressing of what happened.
An emergency press conference.
I don't know if he necessarily has to say. I'm guessing if you don't know, we'll kind of recap this for a minute. A story kind of broke last night. Jeff Banks, the special teams coach, I believe is still employed as the special teams coach. I don't know how much can change.
I mean, can you get fired for this?
I mean, a little monkey business, really.
Yeah.
Just Google Jeff Banks and Texas football kid. It's 7:25. Kids are starting to make their way to school. We won't go back down that
They
path.
don't get it. They don't. They won't get it anyway.
Well, 803-404-6100. It's we'll get into it more here in just a little while. We got Perry Orth coming up in about 10 minutes. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. We were talking about recruiting. Patrick Charles is up next, wanting to talk about Kirby Smart recruiting. Charles, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
I'm no Kirby fan, but I think y'all are being a little unfair to his recruiting skill. The narrative was there's a wall drawn around Atlanta, and he's getting all those good players from there. If you look at their roster, some of their best players, they're not from Atlanta. Jordan Davis is from Charlotte. Nakobe Dean's from Mississippi. Dalvin Cook's brother from Florida. Zamir White is from Charlotte. And
Both
other
their tight ends are
teams
from the
like
West Coast.
yeah, if you look at Clemson, a lot of Clemson's best players over the last couple of years have come out of the Atlanta area. And Florida's really not competing for the 5-star recruits out of Florida with Florida State and Miami that much. It's Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State. That's who's coming down there to get it. And so I think, Mark Richt did a good job at recruiting at Georgia, and even Jim Donnan and Ray Goff did. So there is some truth there that there's an advantage to coaching at Georgia. But Kirby really has upped that game of the talent they've got there, particularly on defense, and in the trenches on offense. They have recruited at an elite level outside of the state of Georgia.
Thank you for the phone call.
I was just talking about the general, the general landscape of recruiting, or the geographical footprint of every school that they have, and that's just kind of how it has been at Florida. And you're still filling out the meat of your roster is going to be of Georgia players. If you're at Georgia, obviously you're going to get the random guys from across the country. And I think they got Kendall Milton's from California, Darnell Washington's from Vegas, Brock Bowers is from Napa, California. So they're obviously going all over the country, but isn't that generally, you focus on your state first and foremost. And if your state has just ridiculous amounts of talent, then it makes the job easier.
Well, the state of Georgia is loaded with talent, and basically Georgia can pick and choose who they want out of that state and then work outward from there. Yesterday on the text line, I believe someone was asking me, because we got into this discussion because of discussing Florida's recruiting versus Georgia recruiting. Florida should recruit really, really well. It's just what they should do. So in the last 4 years, Georgia has recruited 25-star players. Georgia has landed 25-star players. Florida has landed 4 5-star players. In that 4-year period, Kirby Smart has gone into the state of Florida and landed 4 5-star players. 2 of them are from IMG Academy. I don't know if those kids were from the state of Florida, if they went down to IMG, but he has gone down and landed 4 5-star players out of the state of Florida. So there's no questioning that Kirby Smart has been able to do a good job. A lot of schools are able to go out and recruit nationally. And again, some of that is because of television now gives players access. It didn't used to always be this way. That's kind of, I was just joking about the pay-per-view information and what is kind of going on there with being able to used to have to watch games on pay-per-view. Now you can flip on a game. You can see pretty much anybody anywhere play. Tonight we're going to get a couple Maction games. I'm fired up for it. I'm in a good mood. You ready for it, Patrick? Or is that way down on the list behind the arcade trivia and World Series?
That's third on the list behind trivia, and actually fourth on the list behind trivia, skee ball, World Series.
There you go. There you go. 803-404-6100. When we come back, we will get out to a man with plenty of knowledge on the Gamecock offense and what he is seeing. Perry Orth joins us for his weekly Tuesday segment. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Live, local, and free. It's how we do sports. 107.5 The Game. Feel free to call and complain.
Use
Complaining, that is exactly what you'll do if you wake up in the next few months and the heat in your house is not working. You hear me talk about it every day. You probably put it off. You've got something else to do. Don't put it off any longer. Call Roy and Dana Finley today with AAA Heating and Air and get a technician out to your house. Just $59 to come and do a quick check on your heating unit to make sure it's ready to handle the winter months. I was looking at the temperature this morning. It was about 54 degrees when I got up. That's not bad right now. We're okay, but you know that the winter is just around the corner, and if you're not ready to handle if your heating unit is not ready to handle colder weather and you wake up one morning and that heat has gone out, yeah, the rest of the family will not be happy with you. Don't play around with that. Call AAA Heating and Air today, 803-677-1500. How you can get in touch with AAA Heating and Air. Again, $59 to get them out to your house to just do a quick inspection. And if they find something wrong, if they've got to replace your heating and air unit, don't worry. This is where AAA Heating and Air is at their absolute best, not breaking your budget. The first thing they'll do is offer you a $1,500 rebate to buy back your old unit. Then for those that qualify, they work with you. They make the financing easy. No money down, 0% financing. And the best part about it all, they offer you a 15-year parts and labor warranty. And why is that the best part? Because they're there to continue to take care of that heating and air unit. So you can have peace of mind that your heating and air unit is going to continue to run fine. That's why I use AAA Heating and Air. That's why I recommend you give them a phone call today. 803-677-1500. Call AAA Heating and Air. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
From the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center, Shepherd's Glass.
Righty.
A true
Patrick is
reflection
off
of
to take the
quality.
girlfriend.
Shepherd'sGlass.com. Several accidents popping up here this morning. I-20 eastbound at Monticello Road.
And we will
Also,
have Perry
there is
Orth.
a report of an object on the highway. I-20.
Good morning to everybody. See, Hope is
Road
here.
and Clemson Road. So
Craig
just be
is
cautious as
got
you head into
jokes
that
on the
area till they
Texas
figure that out.
situation.
I-77 southbound at Blythewood Road.
We don't know if she was still a
Also,
stripper,
Old
do we? We
Orangeburg
don't.
Road
Was she?
at
I don't
Old
know if she
Barnwell
still
Road,
was, or if
accident
that
there.
was just.
Working an
We don't.
earlier
I don't.
accident, Bluff Road
There's
near
plenty
Dry
more that'll
Branch
come
Road.
out about that
And
today.
we have a tie-up Shop Road near Abbott Road. So
Troy weighing in on the coordinator situation.
Weather-wise, we're looking for sunny and mild conditions.
Ron wanted look
74
Dan
for the
Mullen.
high,
If
overnight low
if
45
Dan
to
Mullen gets
48.
let
Tomorrow,
me go back to
mostly
that.
cloudy. 60
If Dan
for the
Mullen
high,
gets
down to
fired
52 by Thursday.
from
Some rain in the forecast.
Florida,
Right now,
he's
it's
not going to be an
48 at
offensive coordinator. So
107.5
there's
again.
other schools that will gladly hire Dan Mullen because he is a good head coach. They won't put as much of an emphasis on recruiting as maybe Florida has. Maybe I'm trying to think, you go to somewhere else. Mississippi State didn't really care about his recruiting because he was developing players, and every few years he would have the really good run. Dan Mullen is not going to be an offensive coordinator anywhere. He'll go find a good job somewhere. I mean, he could go to like a Texas Tech or somewhere. I'm just thinking, where's Dan Mullen from? Let's look and see where he is actually from. Oh, he's from Pennsylvania. Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania. I don't know if he'd be a good Big Ten coach. Seems. Hope we're saying Wes Mitchell looks like Travis DeArnold. DeArno, not DeArnold. DeArno. Is it DeArno? DeArno. Yeah, TCU. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you're right. Dan Mullen in that state where the easiest thing in the world is to just that's what Mike Leach did at Texas Tech. He didn't have to recruit hard. You just go find some kids that are maybe a couple inches shorter, maybe one step slower, and you run your system. You don't have to beat out Texas and Texas A&M. That's why Dana Holgorsen went back to Houston. Easy job down there. Houston beat SMU over the weekend. You can go back down there, and I mean, you got to recruit. You still got to recruit, but it's not the same as having to recruit at Florida or even, for Dana Holgerson, that definitely not the same as having to recruit at West Virginia. When you can just go down there to Texas, you got all those kids in your backyard. Just kind of see what's available and pluck a couple out and run your system. See, but again, Craig, Penn State's got to recruit. I mean, that's possible, but I think go back and click on that for you. I mean, I think it's possible, but the word is out on Mullen as a recruiter, and I think certain schools like Penn State still got to compete against Michigan and against Ohio State. I think you've got to have a guy who's willing to invest a little bit of time in recruit. You can't just go out and at certain schools and pluck talent and make a run just because of your system. If you can't get it done, if you can't recruit at Florida, it's really hard to recruit anywhere else. I mean, I think Patrick makes an interesting point about, if you went, like, let's just hypothetically say if Dan Mullen went to LSU, would LSU, just because of it being the only big name school in the state, be able to sell itself? Nose itches. Oh. I'm going to open up these blinds. I feel like I'm in the dark in here. I just turned around a minute ago and realized that the sun was kind of up. There we go. Now it's all bright in here, bright and pretty and shiny. Looks like Jen has got Perry on the phone.
All right, so I have Perry and told him that you guys are running to the top hour.
Say that again. What? You got Perry?
Mm-hmm.
And you told him we're just going to go for.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 1075 The Game. Stop by, shop online today, and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. And now, back to the early game on 1075 The Game.
You're good.
$7:38 on a Tuesday morning. Little Dr. Dre and Eminem. I think I was actually listening to this on the way in, trying to catch the energy, trying to get a little fired up. Our own personal offensive doctor. We bring him in each and every Tuesday. We used to bring him in studio, and he was all dressed up. He's had his tie on. Now he just does everything from his car. He's probably got the tie on, but wearing the basketball shorts. Is that the typical? You still doing that? The Zoom attire there, where the tie is on, but there's basketball shorts or sweatpants on underneath there, Perry. Or are you back out in the public eye now?
I have downgraded to simply just a tie. It's not a Zoom call anymore. It's gotten down to phone activity, so I just wear the tie, no shorts.
That's how we got married.
What I was going to say was, if not for what had occurred, did you stay up late enough? I say late enough. I feel like an old man, given that the story, I think, broke around 8:30 last night. Have you seen the story of the Texas special teams coordinator and his girlfriend, and there's a monkey involved?
I had a friend send me a tweet this morning and said that his stripper girlfriend's monkey bit some kid. Yeah.
You're on. Yeah, very good.
Some guy tweeted and was like, "Wonder what core value that is."
Yeah, it's you're on top of the story. You've got the story. You've basically broken down the story in less than about 25 words, and that's exactly what it is. And if you haven't seen it out there, If you've not seen it, yeah, it's a very strange story that's going on out at Texas. And so again, I'm trying to figure out as kids are being taken to school by their parents, how exactly we should address it, because it is a funny story, yet at the same time, I would prefer not to offend any children going to school this morning.
Yeah, it's kind of like don't go and talk to strangers. Don't go and talk to monkeys.
Yeah,
just stay away from the monkeys, man.
Yeah, and to think the whole time I was trick or treating, the worst thing I thought would happen is I get one of those awful like little peanut butter bars, those little white crunchy peanut butter bars that. Or I always thought that was the worst thing that could happen, but it turns out if you go to somebody having an adult party house and there's a monkey, you shouldn't try to get candy from the monkey or something. I don't know what the kid did. The more is going to come out from that story, and we can laugh about it more. What we can't laugh about right now is the South Carolina offense. Perry, coming off of the bye week, I wasn't here last week. I was still trying to recover from Vegas, and quite frankly, I think most were trying to recover from the Texas A&M game, but it looks like Jason Brown will get the start this week. Let's start with that. Your take on what you've seen, the limited action from Jason Brown, and if there's something there that has stood out to you when you've been able to watch him.
Yeah, he's obviously athletic, so he's going to provide a different dimension than Zeb and be able to move around a little bit. He takes on this gunslinger mentality, so he's going to throw some in the end zone. He's also going to throw some to the other team a little bit, part of it. But it'll be a good change of pace, with Luke out and Zeb a little banged up. Let's go ahead and give him a chance. He had a heck of a career at his old university, and he's obviously here for a reason. So at this point, give him a shot. Let's see if he can go and make something happen. But he's a big, strong kid. Looks like he runs the ball well. I think that would definitely help our offense. And then obviously he's got a great connection with EJ Jenkins. He threw a couple touchdowns in the spring game when he went in. It's pretty sure his first completion was to his buddy. And if I'm saying this right, that they've been playing football together since they were in high school or middle school, maybe even younger. So getting EJ in the lineup will help him as well. My story is the same. I sound like a broken record. I don't care who's playing quarterback. You got to get him in a rhythm early. Just again, listening to Peyton Eli break down the game last night, he was talking about Travis Kelce and how he wasn't getting the touches that he needed, and Peyton was saying the same thing as a quarterback. The guy needs to have catches early in the game. Get hit, get tackled, move around a little bit, kind of get into the feel and the rhythm of the game, so that you play better and your confidence is better. For the remainder of the evening. And so having EJ out there is going to help Jason Brown, and I hope that we see a lot of him.
Is that what South Carolina's offense needs? Like if you pick a quarterback right now, do you need a guy who's going to be a little bit more of a gunslinger and take a few more chances? Do you need more of a game manager that maybe will not take the chance? What do you see with this offense right now that South Carolina needs to maybe improve it? I mean, is there a particular quarterback that and again, I know everybody will say, well, yeah, we need Trevor Lawrence or Aaron Rodgers. They don't have that. That's not what South Carolina has. What is the type of mentality that the quarterback needs to have for South Carolina?
Well, I think that first and foremost, just maybe this is one man's opinion, you got to play within the offense. You don't want to do too much because, we don't have guys on our roster and very few quarterbacks in general. So I don't want to say the kids we have aren't good, because they definitely are talented kids. There are very few quarterbacks in the country that can just completely improvise and take games over. Play within the offense. What I'd love to see is more chunk plays, more vertical passing down the field to get those big plays. Like, for instance, sitting there watching the Vanderbilt game, we had a beautiful first drive, great called drive. I don't remember if it was the second or the third drive, but nonetheless, we hit Jaheim Bell on that seam route, went for 80 and scored. I mean, those are the kind of touchdowns that you want to score and not always having to go 12, 15 plays down the field to score touchdowns. It's so hard for an offense to do that day in and day out. And then you start a new quarterback and to ask him to have 4, 10 to 12 play drives against a pretty talented Florida defense, that's just, it's unrealistic, and it's difficult. We have to find ways to create explosive plays and chunk plays. That way we can limit, the amount of yards that we have, and hope our special teams, help with field position.
Again, he's Perry Orth, joins us each and every Tuesday at 7:30 to give us his take. And right now he is leading a hot AC Flora ball club into you guys are starting the playoffs this week. I'm right on that. The playoffs are start this week.
Yep. Friday night playing Indian Land in round 1. And so we are trying to make another run. Won the state title last year and trying to make it happen again.
Dustin Curtis, a good buddy of mine, used to anger him when we would play basketball together. He would push and shove me down because he was bigger and meaner than I was, and I've never forgotten that, as you can tell. You've been there in a bye week. I don't want to. I'm not trying to knock the South Carolina offense. It's not what I want to do. But we've seen it. We all have. We've all watched now for 8 games what this offense is. Perry, how much can a team change? How much can be implemented in a bye week when you're trying to rest, you're trying to get rid of some of the bumps and bruises, but you're trying to adjust? How much could people really expect this offense to look different over the final month of the season?
Well, yeah, I think there's never a better time to make some changes and tweaks than a bye week. Going week to week to make changes is pretty challenging, but that bye week is a lot more calm. It's more like a spring ball practice setting where you're just more so trying things out. I don't think that it's necessarily plays. Obviously, the coaches have said it a trillion times. Everybody has a hand in the reason the offense hasn't played well, and at this point, you could just we just have to, as fans, we just have to hope that that they turn the corner, that the message that the coaches are trying to pitch to the players is starting to be received. These guys didn't get to South Carolina by luck or by chance. I mean, they're good football coaches. We just have to we got to find a way to manufacture points. It's the old small ball mentality in baseball. If you don't have a lineup full of heavy hitters, you got to manufacture runs, which means when one guy gets on, the next guy's sacrifice button, and whatever that looks like for this offense, we have to find ways to do that. If that's doing wildcat at midfield or doing trick plays every other drive, whatever it is, we have to find a way to get the ball into scoring position, to one, either give Parker White a shot at a field goal, or 2, get in the end zone. And at this point, it's got to be all hands on deck. To put a positive spin on the way that we've played at this point, because of the lack of production, you really should be going out and playing free. It's like, well, as a player, I would be thinking to myself, well, it can't get much worse, so we may as well just get out there and cut it loose and see what happens. And so that's what I'm hopeful to anticipate and hopeful to see in the remainder of the year.
This is a question, and last night, I don't know, you probably were at practice and you didn't get to catch the early part of, I guess, the pregame show for Monday Night Football. I don't even know if you're married now. You might not even have control of the television on Monday night. I know that can go downhill quickly, and you can end up watching The Bachelor or The Bachelorette or Dancing with the Stars or one of those shows.
There it was, Dancing with the Stars. No, I was able to escape last night, but I'm only at year 1, maybe year 5. I may be trapped down to watching Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, there you go. Got that, boy. Good. What I was going to ask is, South Carolina's got a weird, and you were kind of a part of this from a different perspective. South Carolina's had a weird history over about the last 7 years of playing true freshman quarterbacks, and I bring this up because some people are saying, well, go with the future. Just play Colton Got the Year right now. Just go ahead and throw him out there.
Don't do that.
Yeah, the reason I say that is you go back even during your time. You saw it started almost during your time. Lorenzo Nunez, McElwain, Bentley, Ryan Holinsky, and now Luke Doty. That's 5 true freshman quarterbacks that have started games in the last 7 years, which is kind of insane given that Jake Bentley played as much, that his run was basically a year and a half there, where he was the starter for all but one game. How difficult is that for a true freshman? Because I'm with you. I don't believe in just throw Goth a year out there because he's the future and let's let him develop. South Carolina doesn't seem to have a history right now of letting quarterbacks develop.
Well, yeah, that is a pet peeve of mine if I ever have one when it comes to football. Quarterback is such a different position than every other position on the field, obviously. But even from a mental standpoint, that's not a position you can just throw kids out there and be like, oh, we'll get them experience and see what happens. You look at the best quarterback coaches in college football. People like Jimbo Fisher come to mind. People like Lincoln Riley come to mind. How many true freshmen are they starting? Lincoln Riley's starting that true freshman, but how many of those, what's his name, Caleb Williams?
Yeah.
How many Caleb Williamses are there out there?
No, I mean he was the number one quarterback. He was the number one quarterback in the country for a reason. It's exactly what you're saying. He was that guy.
Very few are Deshaun Watson, Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence. There's so few of those kids out there. Quarterbacks have to be developed and groomed. And you look at what Jimbo Fisher does. He just, in my opinion, he's the best quarterback coach, quarterback developer in the game right now, in my opinion. And the way that he gets his quarterbacks ready to play is great. All of them redshirt. Jameis Winston redshirted at Florida State. So did E.J. Manuel, Christian Ponder. All these guys that went on to be first-round picks took their time and were developed under their system. Throwing kids out there when they're not ready to play is exactly why we've had 5 true freshman quarterbacks in the last 7 years. That's not how you teach the quarterback position. That's not how you develop it. Now, listen, this year I know Luke wasn't a true freshman, but very inexperienced, but we had to play Luke. We had to. We didn't really have another option, to get out there and play. But these guys, Colton needs to be redshirted. He needs to learn the offense. He needs to learn where his classes are on campus. He needs to get a full year of weightlifting underneath him. I remember Lorenzo Nunez, his parents, talking to my parents and being concerned for his health and his safety because they didn't feel that he was physically, obviously he was, but they were concerned and didn't know if he was physically capable of taking some of the hits, only being 18 years old. Now, that wasn't the case because he was a big and strong kid. It could make all the plays in the world, but that's a concern. That's just another area to think about. Like these kids have to be safe. They may still have some baby fat on them that needs to be taken off. So there's a development and a learning curve process for quarterbacks. And obviously, as I speak passionately about it, I stand behind it because I think that kids' careers get ruined by putting, being thrown out to the fire and thrown out to the wolves when they're not ready to play. And then they get labeled as bad quarterbacks. Well, that's not the case. I don't believe Brandon McElwain was a bad quarterback. I actually think that he could have been a pretty doggone good quarterback. I just think that he was rushed onto the field a little too soon.
He's Perry. Well, I think I'm with you there, and that's why I don't see a reason to put another true freshman out there. That would be incredible. It'd be like 6 and 7 years. And Luke Doty, last year, fair, unfair. I'm not sure. It's a whole nother conversation in regards to how the season was going. Obviously, Muschamp was fired after the A&M game, or was it the Ole Miss game? You had Luke get thrown out there in the Missouri game by Mike Bobo and then start the last 2. And again, that was another true freshman that was the 5th one. But I'm with you on this. You go with Jason Brown this weekend. Again, just your final thoughts here on what you expect to see from this team on Saturday night, or are we at the point you really have no clue?
Yeah, coming off a bye week, I don't know. And then the way we had played versus Texas A&M, those are kind of wake-up calls. And I expect them to shake it up. I just have a sneaky suspicion to see some trick plays, see some different wrinkles, and more shots down the field, because we can't afford, obviously, to have 6 total yards going into the fourth quarter. We got to really, really push it and put some strain on Florida if we want a chance to win.
Really appreciate you joining us. Put some pants on, please. Or a shirt. Just do something. And we look forward to catching up with you next Tuesday, Perry. Have a great rest of the week. Good luck in the playoffs this weekend.
Thank you, brother.
Take care. Perry Orth, always one of my more favorite segments. Very insightful. Again, a lot of good points there on younger quarterbacks. Why you don't play them right away. I'm with him. We'll continue to talk about that. Patrick Perret will rejoin us. You're listening to The Early Game on 107.5 The Game.
Gamecocks, Braves, the NFL with live local radio. 107.5 The Game.
Yeah, I'm with you, Steven. I don't think that you turn that down. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Oh, Patrick's back.
I'm back.
Oh, look at it. He did all the work to get everything fixed. Yeah, I just don't think you can throw another true freshman out there. I mean, you got to allow him to develop. You let Luke Doty, he and Jason Brown, Braden Davis, and you go to the transfer portal and you get a guy and you let them all battle it out in the spring. You just got to open it up. But I don't think you throw him out there and run the risk of destroying his confidence.
I agree, but I do think there's a level to which if you are destroyed because you were put out there too early, you probably weren't going to be the guy anyway.
Well, to me, Patrick, it depends on the team around you. Like,
yeah,
if you've got a team that can kind of carry you, South Carolina, Colton Gauthier is going to have to do just about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
I guess more to the professional standpoint of like, hey, if Zach Wilson goes out there too early as a rookie and struggles and that like destroys his career because he went out too early, he was probably never going to make it. That can't be something that ruins you. College is a little different because they are kids.
Steven, what do you mean when he didn't stick with Bentley? When you talk about when Bentley decided just to transfer, I think he'd had enough.
Yeah. Muschamp. That's the first time I've ever heard that take. Everyone was mad about how much Muschamp stuck by Bentley. Get out of here, Trey.
Yeah, that was good. Perry with some good. I like that insight there. Oh goodness! Just watching the block last night in the Wizards Hawks game. Right. Yeah. I gotta walk around. But yeah, DC. I mean, some of it.
Has it though? Not in recruiting.
Yeah, you got. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You got to let those guys develop.
I mean, at one point you had multiple Elite 11 guys and a top 5 recruit. That's all right.
You definitely got to let those guys develop. That's what I'm saying about throwing them out there. I mean, who knows if Ryan Helinski's allowed to actually develop and sit on the sideline for a year, as opposed to having to start playing right off the bat. Then that was because of injury, different. But I don't know. The other one, did they ever let Dakereon Joyner develop? They never really gave him a chance at quarterback.
Definitely not.
I'd have liked to have seen Dakereon Joyner just a little bit, that way we could all say, yeah, all right, quarterback in his position. Oh, that's right, Hope. You missed it. He's got this Stegosaurus, or she's in the Stegosaurus. Yeah, I'm sorry.
A coworker gave my girlfriend a bag of clothes, but they were all very girly, and we've decided that Polly's a tomboy.
Ah, okay.
She doesn't like skirts. Polly. Named after Along Came Polly. She's all freaked out because there's an ambulance outside. This city is louder than Columbia, than the Rosewood neighborhood. And I just had to reverse out of a parking garage. It's kind of sketchy situation.
You just had to. What did you have to do?
So my girlfriend has a card. We parked in her hotel parking garage, and she has a card that scans in and out, but it's like a one in, one out situation. And when she was parked there yesterday, she tried to scan me in, and it didn't work. So we had to take a ticket, then do this whole. We just had to do this whole routine to get the scan numbers right. So I had to scan in, but not go in, and then reverse out and go out the front of the parking garage really quickly. She's a big time mother. We thought she was a schnauzer at first. Was our theory, but her like biggest thing is a Chiweenie. That was her biggest. Chihuahua and Dachshund. I don't see it at all.
She's a Dachshund?
She's a million different things when we got the DNA test. She's like mostly, we thought she was a Schnauzer because of her face, but Chihuahua and Dachshund more than anything.
You know, those DNA tests are kind of fun because you see things in there. It's like, really?
Yeah.
You know, quite the mix.
Jen, you got Wes's number? Do I need to text that to you?
Let me see. I should. I do. I
Okay.
have it. 8:20.
Yeah, so we'll go a little extended here and then get to him. I say a little extended. That's about, what about 8:15? That's right, Troy. It's the right
How'd
number.
you guess? Been my number for years, except I hate the first name.
They did auction off that number years ago. I think it's
I
sold for
remember
quite
that.
a lot.
Yeah, people called me Jenny once, and that's doesn't happen twice.
You ever tried that, Bill?
Call her Jenny?
Yeah.
I don't. Now I know what to do if she annoys me. Just wait till Carrie Tharp's segment on
Yeah,
Jenny
there's
from the
that-
block. Big thank you to Perry Orth for joining us as he always does on a Tuesday to break down what he thinks we may see this weekend. I no idea. I don't really have a good grasp. I don't think anybody does of what you're going to see. Jason Brown will likely get the start. I mean, look, based on what we've seen the previous 8 games, Patrick, you've pointed it out, and I think rightfully so. I don't think you're being negative or anything. South Carolina's an 18-point favorite. Florida can run the football effectively with their 2 quarterback system, Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson. South Carolina has struggled to stop the run. The Gamecocks are going to have to be able to move the football effectively, play a little bit of keep away, and we haven't seen them be able to do that. But maybe it's a new week. Maybe they've put some stuff together, come out and maybe been able to get some guys healthy. I'm with you on Zaquandre White. I think you said that before. Was it you or Perry? You guys both are very smart. I get you confused. But Zaquandre White and Marshawn Lloyd, I would personally like to see more of them right now. South Carolina's offensive line is not built to just line up and steamroll somebody. You've got to have a little bit of shiftiness and being able to get to the perimeter and make a guy miss. And I do think the one thing I took away from the end of the Texas A&M game, it looked like Marshawn Lloyd was gaining a little bit of confidence.
And that's important too. Like, I think going forward, I know lots of people are concerned about him transferring because he hasn't gotten the carries. I don't know if he's not healthy or not, or he doesn't. I guess sometimes there's a mental hurdle when people come back from ACLs. They don't necessarily trust the knee. But he does feel like, and what he adds is different than Juju McDowell. They're both like kind of the smaller, shifty backs, but Marshawn Lloyd is like stout. He can really run through tackles. Juju McDowell is so small that if someone hits him, he's going backwards. Like you rarely see him running through a tackle and pushing guys forward or falling forward for a couple yards, just because at 160 or whatever he is, it's just hard to do. Marshawn Lloyd's got a lot more beef to him basically and can run through tackles. Even that touchdown run, he carried a couple guys into the end zone. So I think with the combination with Zaquandre White, what he can get you by making guys miss and just he's got a very unique running style. I don't even know how to describe it. And then Marshawn Lloyd with that low to the ground kind of bowling ball type of deal, but also some explosion. I think that is the duo that you start riding.
803-404-6100. How you can join us this morning, coming up in about 15 minutes. Wes Mitchell of Gamecock Central will join us. He'll kind of give a breakdown of what he's heard, both in the recruiting world coming out of the bye week, as well as what he has heard regarding South Carolina football and maybe what we will see. There was some college football news yesterday outside of what happened at the University of Texas. Patrick, maybe the bigger news that you're more in tune with and something that I think we're going to be following as we get to the month of December, and that is the quarterback portal. Off air on the live stream, you can go and join us on the live stream there. You can go to the YouTube page, go to youtube.com and then search 107.5 The Game. You can go to the 107.5 The Game Facebook page and you can watch and chat with us off air. And some of the discussion on the live stream has been in regards to the quarterback situation. Steven weighing in and is really kind of in favor of giving Colton Gauthier an opportunity. Patrick, we were kind of talking about it. You know, I think you let Colton Gauthier redshirt this year. I don't think you play him. I think you hold him out as long as you can. You allow him to develop a little bit. And then in the spring, you have Gauthier. You have Jason Brown, who will be back, Luke Doty. You have true freshman Braden Davis. And I'm now of the opinion you go to the quarterback portal. And that's where it's going to be. And yesterday, another big name, kind of a surprise, but Miles Brennan, maybe seeing the writing on the wall with Ed Orgeron leaving. I was surprised to see him in the transfer portal because, to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, he hasn't been beaten out. He keeps getting injured. That's
well, I guess in a way he got Wally picked because he was competing. They never made an announcement between him and Max Johnson, but we talked about it a little bit. It did seem like things were trending towards Max Johnson, and then ended up just Miles got hurt again, so there was really no other option. I can't necessarily blame him. I assume he has his degree by this point. He's given LSU everything he could. He's waited around long enough. At this point, he's got probably, I'm assuming, 1 year of eligibility left. I don't really know how it works with all the injuries because he's been hurt so much the last couple of years. And I'm assuming he redshirted as a freshman too. So with whatever time he's got left, he just probably wants to guarantee that he can start because he is really talented. He does have NFL potential in terms of physical tools. He can throw the ball all over the field. So I don't know what kind of school he'll be looking at. He is a Georgia kid, so I'm assuming he'll want to stay in the Southeast. He is a Georgia kid, I think. I'm pretty sure.
No, he's from Long Beach, Mississippi. He was
from Mississippi. Okay.
Yeah, the number.
So he's going to stay in the Southeast.
You would assume, and you're right. This was his 5th year. He's been there a while. He backed up Joe Burrow in 2019. Yeah. This was his 5th year.
But he redshirted, right? And then he probably got a medical red shirt. And then what else? I mean, how much eligibility does he have?
Yeah, he's got one. He's got his red shirt year and he's got his COVID year. So he will be a super senior next year, his 6th year with someone. He's from Long Beach, Mississippi, was the number 4 pocket passer and number 96 overall player in the 2017 recruiting rankings. It's weird because you're right. He feels like he's been there forever. He hadn't played a ton. He's only thrown for 1,700 career yards, 13 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. And again, Patrick, highly rated guy, well thought of coming out of high school, has been around the LSU program. Looked like he had a very good start to last year before the abdominal injury that knocked him out for the remainder of the year. I don't know if he was going to win the starting job, but he's another guy now. Harrison Bailey is in that transfer portal. There's been discussions that one of the Florida quarterbacks, whether it's Emory Jones or Anthony Richardson, could enter into the transfer portal. There's going to be some names in that transfer portal that you might be able to get involved in on. and bring a quality guy into the competition. And I'll be honest, that's what it's got to be for South Carolina in the spring. I don't think you're just handing the job back to Luke Doty. You know, Jason Brown, let's say he goes out and performs really well over the next 4 games. I don't know if you're handing it to him. There needs to be competition amongst South Carolina quarterbacks when we get to the spring.
Well, what would it say if a quarterback like I don't know who you consider the most talented of that bunch of SEC guys, but if a Miles Brennan transfers to South Carolina, what does that tell you? Because I assume he's not transferring to compete for a job. He's transferring to be a starter. And I don't know what kind of guarantees coaches really give out at the end of the day. They'll say in their press conferences that every job is a competition, but at the end of the day, they're going to be sitting in a living room somewhere telling a guy that he's going to come here with the expectation of starting. And Miles Brennan you're not going to hear a bad thing said about him in Baton Rouge because he was patient. He came in, was waiting to be the starter, then Joe Burrow transferred in. He could have waited, or he could have transferred out, but he waited his time, won a national championship, and then in his final year, what should have been his final year, he had the chance to start, really lit it up, was throwing for 300-plus yards every game. Abdominal injury goes down, and then this year at camp gets hurt again. So it's just been a lot of bad luck, but he's a really talented player and played well every chance he's gotten. But he's not going to come to South Carolina if Shane Beamer says, yeah, we just want to bring some competition in the quarterback room. Why don't you come in here and compete with Luke Doty?
I don't think you can go into the recruiting I say recruiting world. I don't know how you want to phrase it, the recruiting portal, the transfer portal, and promise a guy a starting job. I don't think you can do that to the quarterbacks you got on staff.
You can't promise it, but you don't think they go in there and say, look, I can't guarantee anything, but with your talent, if you just come and do what we expect you to do, you'll probably end up starting.
Well, I mean, I think that's different than guaranteeing the guy. I think you've got to tell him, hey, it's a competition. I don't know if you want the guy who comes in expecting to just be handed the starting job. I don't know.
I mean, you don't think somebody's going to tell Spencer Rattler that he's going to be their starting quarterback next year?
Will somebody tell? My opinion, I mean, Spencer Rattler, I believe, is from Arizona.
Yeah.
And Arizona, I believe, again, I think I saw this correctly, and I'll confirm it, right now has the nation's longest losing streak that I believe is at 20 games. I'm going to confirm that for you right now. I believe I saw that statistic last night on college.
You're not going to go to Arizona, though, right?
Well, there's you're asking.
Arizona State, right? If anything, Jay Daniels might go pro.
You're asking about a place where he can go in and start instantly. That Arizona, Jed Fish is the head coach out there now. Is the guy
who can go to South Carolina and start instantly? He can go to Mississippi.
Spencer Rattler has not been, this is, again, we'll kind of conversation for another time, but as we get closer to the transfer portal and everything, I mean, let's see how Jason Brown looks on Saturday night. I think regardless, by the way, Arizona was 4-2 at one point in 2019 as I look back at this, and they've lost 8 straight this year. They lost all 5 last year. And they were 4-2 before closing out with 7 straight losses. So, yes, 20 straight dating back to October 5th, 2019. Arizona beat Colorado in Boulder 35-30 in that game. That's how long ago it's been. So, Arizona currently on a 20-game losing streak and is the nation's longest. I don't know. The Spencer Rattler thing, look, he's going back. To me, if he leaves, he's going back out west. He's going back to where he can play, like you said, for 1 year, and he's going to also go to an offense that I think gives him the opportunity. UCLA might also actually be an option for him because I think DTR is running out of eligibility there as well.
That's what I was thinking, but I've heard, not that it's rumors or people just speculating, like what a great fit 1 year of Lane Kiffin and Spencer Rattler would be. Because Spencer Rattler seems to have an attitude that rubs people the wrong way. I've heard that from a lot of people, NFL draft people, Elite 11 people, Oklahoma people, all over the place. People have questioned his attitude. Kind of seems like he's always been the man and expected to be treated differently. And if there's anyone that you feel like would deal with someone with an attitude problem, or maybe they would be kind of simpatico in that regard, it would be Lane Kiffin.
803-404-6100. How you can join us this afternoon or this morning. It is the morning. I'm doing the morning show. Heath is back today. Thank goodness Heath is back. Finally. Yes, that guy and his vacations. He's back. So good news for all of you out there. Just 3 hours of me today. About 45 more minutes to go of this particular show. Wes Mitchell will join us in about 5 minutes. Jeff weighs in. Patrick, I'll get your opinion on this because I have an opinion. He says, if you go after a transfer portal quarterback, what message does that send to Luke Doty? How would he respond to that? I don't. He's got to respond to it with his job is being challenged. While I want to see Luke Doty continue to develop, and I think he's a young quarterback, and I think he still has plenty of potential. South Carolina is not a program right now where you can just hand the keys of the starting quarterback job to anybody. There needs to be competition. If he doesn't want to battle for his job, that tells me something about him. That's how I would respond. And Jeff, I'm not trying to go off on you or anything. I'm just that every position needs to have competition at it right now for South Carolina to get better. And there's not a guy on that roster at quarterback where you're just like, yeah, he's the guy. If you can go bring another guy in and create competition, Patrick, are you with me on this? Like,
yes.
That's what it's going to be in the spring.
The message it sends is we were not good enough at the quarterback position and we need to upgrade. If Luke Doty thinks that he played well enough this year before he got hurt, that he should come into the year unchallenged, untested, like he's not watching the same games that we watched. I mean, he was fine. He did what he could at times, but it's not like he was just lighting it up when he was out there. He wasn't running around like we expected. That might have been injury related. He wasn't accurate for large stretches. If he watches the film back and says, yeah, I was great, I did everything I could this year, well, he's probably not watching the same games. I think it's not high school football. You're not handed anything. This is the SEC, and South Carolina's a bad football team right now. If he can't understand that you need to be looking for improvements everywhere, and iron sharpens iron. If we bring another quarterback in, it could bring the best out of you, and it could bring the best out of both people. Multiple quarterbacks end up playing on every college football team in the country pretty much. He's going to get it. I don't think you should be even slightly concerned about the message it sends to Luke.
Thank you for weighing in this morning, Jeff. If you want to join us, 803-404-6100. You can also join us on the live stream. You can go to the YouTube page and search for 107.5 The Game. You can subscribe and watch us each and every morning. Patrick and Polly, the what kind of dog? We don't know. Just a mixture of.
She's a combination of things, but mostly a Chiweenie.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Polly the dog is making her appearance on the live stream wearing a fantastic Stegosaurus, outfit, just really cool there. So you can see that. Jen is threatening anybody that calls her Jenny. Was it Jenny? Yeah, if you didn't see.
A golf coach was the only one who was able to do that for me, like a golf pro.
It was only one allowed to call you Jenny.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we also learned that on the live stream. So we've learned about Polly, the puppy dog, and don't call Jen Jenny, or else you may get hit with a 9-iron upside the head.
Could be a driver.
Or driver. Or so she goes straight for the big stick. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game. Wes Mitchell joining us next from Gamecock Central. We'll get his take on the bye week and what he thinks or what he's hearing on South Carolina football right here. You're listening to 107.5 The Game. Now is the time. Right now. Well, okay, don't do it right now. Now's not exactly the time to call Benji Getsy, but today is a really good day to get in touch with Benji Getsy and Buford Lending. Right now, it is a record refinancing event. The interest rate's still extremely low, but it's coming to an end, and now is the time to get in touch with Benji Getsy and Buford Lending. All they want to do is have an opportunity to earn your business. That's not asking too much, is it? I mean, all you got to do, give him a phone call today and see what Benji Getsy and Buford Lending can do for you. Right now, they're helping people save up to $500 a month just by refinancing. First-time home buyers who maybe didn't get the best interest prices right off the bat, they're being able to get those now, and you can be one of those people. You just need to get in touch with Buford Lending. They'll do a free evaluation anytime, day or night. Just give them a phone call, 843-524-2404. Again, that's 843-524-2404. All Benji and his team want to do is earn your business. It's a free evaluation, so you can call them this afternoon, go over the details of what you're currently dealing with, and see what they can do for you. Why would you not at least check it out? 843-524-2404. How you can reach Benji Getsy and Buford Lending. Don't call Wall Street. The rates are better on Bay Street down in Buford. Give Benji and his team a chance to earn your business today. 843-524-2404. That's Benji Getsy and Buford Lending.
From the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center, Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. ShepherdsGlass.com. Shop Road near Abbott Road, still working that earlier accident, as well as Bluff Road near Dry Branch Road. Also a report of a tie-up.
Yeah, Chuck. I mean, you need a better quarterback. I don't know. That's why you bring somebody else in and just let them compete. Just absolutely let them compete. And that's why Janae just harassed Jen. That's what I'll do off air, or after. We'll see how far I can push her. She's got to work. She actually has to call Wes now.
Yeah, just keep in mind there's only a little bit of kind of plexiglass separating us at this point.
That glass actually is pretty strong. Is there two panes of it? Is there one
I
on
think
you?
so.
I mean, is that when they were designing this? Did they talk with people prior? And is that why there's one pane on your side and then a middle section and then
Soundproofing? Yeah.
Soundproofing? Is that it?
Yep. Oh.
I was checking into Carolina Hurricane tickets last night.
For which game?
Huh?
For which game? Any game?
Well, my sister may be going up there for Christmas on December 19th. Going up to see them in Raleigh, and they're playing the Predators.
Ooh.
I think, well, Troy, my knee is still my knee's getting better. It's a little sore this morning, but I think I could still possibly get away from Jen. I'll take my chances.
What's the adrenaline?
We got the little bullpen out there. They got all the little desk areas. It's like in a little square. I think if I could just run around that or hobble around that for a few minutes, I'd be all right. Ferrari, I went to the Hall of Fame a long time ago. It was pretty neat. I'll be honest, I'm 39. That was probably close to 25 years ago. That's when I was really into collecting baseball cards too. I would go. It's definitely worth the trip. Patrick, you've been to the NFL Hall of Fame, haven't you?
I've been to the NFL and the college football. Never been to baseball.
Yeah, college football. I went to that when we had to go to
Media Day.
SEC Media Day, and it was all right. I wasn't. Baseball is the best. I like baseball. I hadn't been to the football or basketball, but
I'd like to go back to the football one. I was very little when I went.
Austin, my son's not a huge baseball fan, but I'd like to take him to the baseball one.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Wes is ready.
Cool. Yeah, that was baseball was I mean, there's just a lot of history there, and I bet Canton would be actually pretty interesting to go to.
Yeah.
How far is Canton from Cleveland?
Very close. People they sell like weekend tickets to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and NFL Hall of Fame. But we drove up to Canton, did the Hall of Fame, drove right back. Basically, stayed at night. Yeah, went to dinner and drove right back in the morning.
I could maybe go take Austin up there and go catch a Browns game or something. I mean, it really is kind of stupid and crazy that I've been to more hockey games in the last 5 years than I've been to to Major League Baseball and NFL combined.
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
$8:25 on a Tuesday morning. Hope you're up and at 'em, doing well.
It's going to be nice today. Mid-70s is the expected temperature. Then it starts to drop down. High of 60 tomorrow, and then we get into the 50s. Highs in the 50s on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Only a high of 59, meaning Saturday night will be in the 40s when South Carolina and Florida kick off. And it's the crowd there. It's going to be interesting. I'm interested to see a lot of things about this coming weekend. One of which is the offense. South Carolina coming off the bye week and joining us now on the Love Chevrolet phone lines. Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Wes, are you? Well, number one, are you even aware there's a football game this weekend? Or are you in total World Series mode right now and just totally focused on the Braves at 8:00 tonight?
No, I had to get my brain back focused in on football. I'll admit, last week with the bye week, perfect timing for me. But yeah, I'm dialed back in now. It's good. I'll dial out for about 4 hours tonight, and then we'll be right back in it.
Where do you feel? Patrick and I have debated this. You're a big Braves fan. Where are you at mentally with this team? Because we feel like the fans are just terrified that there's a lot of emotional baggage that's being carried around. That even though they're up 3-2, Braves fans are just living in fear. Where are you at with this team as you go back to Houston with a 2-game lead or a 1-game lead?
Yeah, I'm in a pretty good place, man. I think a lot of these fans are like your Atlanta fans that are fans of the Falcons as well. I'm a Panthers fan growing up in South Carolina, so I don't have like the complete, maybe total Atlanta fan experience that I think these people are drawing from. Obviously, the Super Bowl a few years ago. So, I don't know, man. Like, it seems like every time people panic on this team, they answer, they bounce back. I'm in a pretty good place. If you'd have told me a long time ago that the Braves would be going into Game 6 with a 3-2 lead in the World Series, I would have signed up for it without hesitation. So I'm in a good place, man. I think they're going to close it out one of these 2 nights.
All right, that's ultra positive, Wes Mitchell.
Be in a good place in a Game 7, though. The morning of a Game 7 is just the most uncomfortable feeling of all time.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that, honestly, if it gets to that point. Game 7s are great for everybody else, probably not for fans of the teams that are playing.
No, Patrick's already been very clear on that this week, that Game 7 there's nothing fun. What did you go through, Patrick? It was a Game 7 with the Nationals a couple years ago.
Well, they faced elimination in every round of playoffs. That's the good. The Braves haven't faced elimination yet, which is the great part of being a Braves fan right now. It's about as comfortable of a playoff run as you could have.
Wow, yeah, and that means you've got to do it tonight. Honestly, you do it tonight, or the momentum really does shift like all the way back to Houston. I know a lot of people have said, or some people have said, well, Houston has the momentum. I don't buy that, man. They won 1 game. Braves still have control over the series. They have a 1-game lead. So if you don't win tonight, though, then I do think Houston, having experienced not just this year, but this group of guys has experienced elimination games so many times. If you let it get to that point, then I will probably be a nervous wreck the next day.
Not what we need from you this week. We need you covering South Carolina football. Shane Beamer will speak with the media today to highlight kind of the Florida game. Weird situation done in Florida yesterday, Wes, with Dan Mullen. real quick on that, so you cover, you and I, we've worked together. We've traveled and covered recruiting, and recruiting is the lifeblood of any program. You see what Kirby Smart's doing at Georgia, certainly, and I think that's what's been highlighted most. But what did you make of Dan Mullen's comments yesterday about recruiting and even where Florida is as a program? Because it feels like they're pretty good. They just went to the SEC championship game last year, yet it feels like Dan Mullen, this is kind of a last stand this weekend when he comes to Columbia.
Yeah, it's weird how fast it can change and how quickly people can turn on you. I mean, I'm looking right now. Florida has the 35th ranked recruiting class in the country, according to Rivals.com. And I mean, God, to me, Florida is one of those places that should almost always be in the top 15 at least. If you're putting any effort into recruiting, you should easily be top 20, but really you should be knocking on the door of top 10 just because you have so much access to prospects right there in your state. So my I guess feel for those comments is, well, why do you make them? Like, why do you put yourself up to even more scrutiny? I saw some people defending him, saying, that wasn't the context, that the context was lost on Twitter. Either way, why even put the idea out there? Why even float it out there that, oh, we don't really focus on recruiting during the season? I mean, you better sure. So let's be honest. There is a part of the year where you are 100% focused on recruiting, and there's a part of the year where you're more focused on your team. But I mean, do you think Nick Saban ever completely just stops thinking about recruiting? No. Does Kirby Smart do that? No. Does Shane Beamer do that? No. I mean, I think you look, and if you're Mullen, you already know that the pressure is starting to ramp up. I don't know why why y'all put yourselves in that situation as a staff.
He's Wes Mitchell joining us this morning from Gamecock Central. Let's transition that into South Carolina recruiting bye week. Coaches were able to get out on the road. Didn't seem like there was a ton of information. The one thing that caught me off guard, and just Shane Beamer going down to Hilton Head for a guy that I don't know how much involvement there is in Jalen Sneed, the 5-star linebacker. Is there anything worth monitoring there, or is that a courtesy visit just to tell Jalen Sneed, hey, we need some linebackers that know how to tackle and run real fast and be good football players?
Yeah, I think it's an intriguing visit. We're officially going to monitor it because of that. I think this is a kid, I've seen this kid several times, and man, he's that good. Like he's good enough that you go down there, and if there's any chance at all you can flip this kid, you make a run at it. He would, if South Carolina were to pull that off, he'd be the best linebacker on paper they've signed since, I mean, honestly, I don't know when off the top of my head. So, I think it's worth keeping an eye on. I thought it was very interesting. Beamer making that stop, Beamer hitting both Jadens. So you had Jaden Bradford and Chapin, Jaden Davis at Catawba Ridge up in Fort Mill, the two underclassmen quarterbacks that most people consider to be the top quarterbacks in the state as far as underclassmen go. So, Beamer, he traveled a lot of miles. A lot of it you could tell was sort of about just checking in on the committed guys, making sure you're still showing love there, and then trying to get a head start on these underclassmen and just kind of making it known. I think if you're an underclassman and an SEC head coach comes to your school, that sends a message that lets that kid know that South Carolina is serious about them. So I think that was sort of the big focus was, a few final targets plus the committed guys, then getting in on those underclassmen.
Emory Floyd is a guy that again seemed like a pretty good pickup at the time. Is a defensive back. South Carolina trying to get some help in that area. Has now set up some visits, I guess, multiple visits to Florida. What do you make of that situation with Emory Floyd and South Carolina, as he is still committed?
Yeah, he's still committed to South Carolina. Still pretty active in his support of South Carolina on social media. Now, from what I've been told, he is highly interested in Florida, and we were basically told, hey, that's something you guys need to keep an eye on. He could, eventually flip. Now, I'll put that in context with what we were just talking about at the beginning of the segment. Florida has issues right now. The fans have turned on them. I would think Dan Mullen is back. I mean, they were just in the SEC championship game last year, but A lot of people seem to think this is probably Ty Grantham's last season. He sort of narrowly escaped getting pushed out last year. So I think, on the surface, from what we're hearing, Emory Floyd highly interested in Florida. How much of an effect though would it have if that entire defensive staff is gone? I think it's hard to sit here and think he would flip. If there are major changes on the defensive side over there, which I at this point believe there will be.
What do you expect from South Carolina's recruiting class? Not necessarily in terms of who they signed, but 17 guys committed now. They can go, I believe, to 23, and then you're going to get some extra scholarships because of transfers, according to the new rule. How many more high school guys do you think they go with, as opposed to now looking at that transfer portal for maybe immediate help?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I think in an ideal world, they would love to close out with, a few of these like top tier high school guys. If you look at the high school guys they're still in on, you're talking about your Antonio Williams of the world, your Jayshawn Barhams of the world, James Pierce from up in Charlotte. He's not quite as highly ranked as those other guys, but I would say is a really good prospect as well. So I think some of that is obviously going to depend on do they land these very specific final top targets. But I think they're going to go heavy transfer portal. Once you start getting past those final targets I just mentioned, they'd like to sign a high school running back as well. It's just not quite clear yet which guy that might be. But I wouldn't be surprised if you, obviously they missed on Delp. Maybe you go get a transfer tight end. Maybe you go get a transfer receiver. Maybe you go look at the quarterback in the transfer portal. I think when you look at the fact they're probably going to get, they could get 7 additional scholarships on top of that 23 number that we're talking about. So if that happens, I'm thinking, let's be honest, y'all, is there a single position on the roster that you just look at and say, oh, that position is set like that? South Carolina's great at that spot. I don't think there's a single one. So some of it will be, hey, who's in the portal that's A, talented, and B, interested in South Carolina. I don't think you can look at any spot and say, oh, that spot's too loaded to go into the portal. So I'd imagine much like last offseason, they're going to have to go heavy into the portal. I don't know if that was originally the plan. I think it was maybe going to be more high school skewed with some portal, but now that you did get those additional scholarships and we're sort of seeing, what happened this year on the field, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You look at some of the guys you're going to lose on the defensive side of the ball. I think you have to go portal fairly heavily down the stretch again.
Braden Davis is committed, obviously, at the quarterback position, and certainly an intriguing guy. But Patrick and I were talking about it right before you came on. I know you don't just take a guy to take a guy, but you are kind of looking to find another guy to bring in for competition at the quarterback position to just create competition in the spring. And Wes, I'll ask you this because I kind of pointed this out too. I don't know how quarterbacks are going to handle the transfer portal, because you get the kids, most kids have confidence in themselves and they say, you know what, I'm going to stick it out through the spring and try and compete in the spring, in spring practice, in the spring game to earn my starting spot. And if I don't get it, then I'm going to transfer. But I think if you're South Carolina, you can't wait post-spring to take a guy. I think you've got to try and find a guy in December or January to compete with Braden Davis, with Doty, with Jason Brown, with Gauthier. Are you of that opinion as well? Or do you think South Carolina could even – do they have to take one, given that they already have Braden Davis? Can they wait till the spring? Because I do think quarterback is an interesting position for year 2 in Shane Beamer.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I'm of the opinion – that you have to see what's available and who's interested. I'm with you. I would not take a guy before the spring just to take someone. So it's just like, we're iffy about this guy, but we need a quarterback. If that was the scenario, I'd honestly wait. It's maybe not worth it to sort of, upset the room if it's not a guy you think can come in and like be the guy. Now, if in either scenario, either right after the season or after the spring, to me, you're looking at quarterbacks these days kind of like NFL teams are. You're searching until you have like your dude for the next few years. And if you don't have your guy, you have to keep exhausting all opportunities to go try to find him. So, I think not that I'm not that I'm giving up on the guys on the roster, not that I'm giving up on the guys coming in, but you need as much competition as possible until okay, we feel pretty good about that position for the next couple of years, and then you're constantly trying to find the next guy after those couple of years. So to me, it's all going to depend on who is out there. Again, I'm not taking one just to fill a number, but if there's a difference maker in the portal and he's interested in South Carolina, I agree. It's so huge. I mean, this, the ability to come in and go through spring and learn the scheme and learn what's going on and get acclimated, especially for a quarterback, which is such a leadership position. So much more beneficial to be in early as opposed to be coming in the spring. For Maymester, a lot of the guys aren't even on campus yet, so you're not around your teammates. It's just a completely different scenario if you're coming in late as a quarterback, I feel like.
Yeah, if you're gonna take a guy, I'm not a fan of right now, given South Carolina's position and what the quarterback battle could look like, unless it's just an absolute difference maker. I'm not a fan of taking a guy post spring practice. This week, Florida's in town. South Carolina comes off the bye week. Patrick and I have talked about it, Wes. It's interesting because now we learned something else about Shane Beamer. How does his team respond after a bye week? Steve Spurrier was usually really good after a bye week. That victory over Alabama in 2010 came after a bye week. Will Muschamp was actually pretty good after a bye week. The victory over Georgia in 2019 came after a bye week. What are you hearing with maybe any adjustments or anything that may have happened in terms of this current team, during the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's an interesting point, man. I haven't heard specifics on adjustments. I think the thing I'm looking to see, and I know all the fans are looking to see, is are we at the point in time of the season where the offense is what it is, or is there something that could have been done during the bye week to tweak this thing to where you just get a little bit more efficiency, a little bit more production out of this offense, and can at least give this team a chance? I think we're all past the point of putting any type of expectations on this offense going up and down the field. But can you at least give your team a chance in some games that, at least on paper, you look next week at Missouri, pretty winnable game. You look this week, man, this is a Florida team that you almost wonder, are they going to come in and respond to all this negativity, or are they going to come in and look like a team that doesn't care? So at home, if I'm South Carolina and I'm Shane Beamer, I'm building up this game. I'm trying to get my guys to come into this game like it's basically their Super Bowl, because I think there could be some blood in the water on the Florida side. And if you can do something early in this game, positive from a South Carolina perspective, then maybe you get into an actual game with these guys. I think you look 2 weeks ago and say, that was never even a football game. So, I have not heard specifics on the bye week. A lot of times you're going back to yourself. You're not really worried about the opponent. You're trying to focus on internally cleaning things up, back to basics, eliminating some of these mistakes. These are two teams. We know the Gamecocks have obviously lots of problems on the penalty department. Florida is a very heavily penalized team as well. Florida is a team that turns the football over. I think it's going to be an interesting game, and I think we're going to know pretty quick, guys, whether it's going to be another blowout or whether Florida is sort of at the point in their season where they're kind of just ready to get it over with.
What are you expecting the crowd to look like?
Dude, that's a good question. So I heard that from a ticket sales standpoint, they're actually in a pretty good place, because that was my thought as well. I was like, man, I don't know if people are gonna come out. Now, this is one of those games where a lot of people had already bought tickets, before the Texas A&M game. I think that was a game that really kind of took it out of the fan base a little bit, in my opinion. So we'll see. I think it is critical for Carolina fans to sort of get back off the mat and go back out there and support this team if Carolina's going to have any chance in this game. I mean, on paper, clearly Florida is a big favorite, but this is one of those games where you could look and it could be late second quarter and the Gamecocks are just kind of hanging around in there, and the crowd could be big, and if that's the case.
Jason Brown going to be the starter. Shane Beamer will speak with us today. Do you expect that to be the case, or are you hearing anything that indicates Zeb Nolan is at least still in line to potentially get the start?
Yeah, I think it's kind of one of those things. Officially, Zeb Nolan's still in line to start. My expectation, I'd be kind of surprised if that happens. I think this is Jason Brown's opportunity. It's one thing to be available that quickly coming off of that surgery, which it sounds like Zeb Nolan will be. It's another thing to be back fast enough to actually practice leading up to the game. So, I think he'd have to be out there. Zeb would, I would say by today or certainly by tomorrow if you're going to have any chance to start an SEC football game. But you look back, man, Jason Brown getting a bunch of first-team reps last week. I'd imagine he'd get a bunch of them this week as well. So, to me, it just sets up. And honestly, even without the injury, I think you'd have had to take a pretty hard look at maybe giving Jason Brown his shot this week anyway. So, I'm not like officially reporting that, but it sure seems like everybody covering this team, myself included, sort of anticipates that it's going to be Jason Brown's opportunity to go play.
He's Wes Mitchell. Make sure you follow all their work at GamecockCentral.com. Love the energy. Glad we got you on at 8:20. I was worried at 7:20 you were still going to be, sipping coffee and worried about the Braves, but glad to have you on this morning. A lot of great information, and look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thanks, guys. You have a good one, okay?
Take care. Wes Mitchell with GamecockCentral.com. If you're not already, follow him on Twitter at Wes Mitchell GC. We'll continue to talk about what he had to say regarding the quarterback position, and we'll wrap up this program. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
No, if you've had a big weekend and it's Tuesday and you're still sore, still having some issues with muscles or ligaments, tissues, you got some inflammation, now's the time to call QC Kinetics. It's 803-281-6860. Why? Because they'll take an all-natural approach to getting your quality of life back. All consultations are free, no restrictions, no steroids, no opioids. QC Kinetics is the company to get you back the quality of life that you've been wanting. If you've been having issues with your knees, maybe your hips are bothering you, you got some pain in your fingers or shoulders, maybe the muscles in your back, what are you waiting for? Why are you not calling QC Kinetics today? 803-281-6860, a pain management clinic with regenerative medicine that can get you back to living the life you want to live. It's a complete game changer, and you won't know until you give them a phone call today. 803-281-6860. Again, this is the important part. All consultations are free. So if you got some issues that you've been dealing with, you want to get back to racing around with the kids or the grandkids, get back out there and enjoy life, want to get rid of some inflammation in your body, don't wait any longer. Give QC Kinetics a call today. 803-281-6860. Again, important part here. No steroids, no opioids, just easy, non-invasive therapy that'll work with you to get you back up and running again. 803-281-6866. Excuse me. 803-281-6860. That is QC Kinetics. All right. Well, DC, it's possible. It's possible. South Carolina could get boat raced. I mean,
Wes was very right about people buying tickets before the A&M game because that's what we did. And it was even suggested maybe wait till after the A&M game and they'll be cheaper. I do wish we would have done
that. You can't trade, maybe try and trade up for better tickets?
No, I mean, this weekend is a huge weekend for all of my friends are going to be in town this weekend. We're cooking a gator and everything. Like, there's going to be a lot of food. They rented speakers, bunch of tailgate spots. So I will be all in this weekend.
Did I hear you say you're cooking a gator?
Not me, but yeah, my friends bought one.
Like, I mean, I've had gator meat, gator tail, all that stuff, but how exactly are you cooking? I mean, I'm guessing you're grilling it like it's a
I
skin.
assume so. Let me look at this kid's page. I mean, there's probably like 50 plus of my friends are all in town this weekend. Like, everyone is here this weekend. It's gonna be pretty wild.
So where's the big party at your house? Or because I would imagine 50 people are not staying at your house.
No, there's like different people rented different things. They bought speakers and a bunch of different tailgate spots. I think it's at the state fair. I think they rented a bunch of spots at the state fair. I'm not paying though. I'm using my rent as payment.
You're using your rent as payment?
My people that are staying at my house.
So you're allowing people to stay for free as long as you get free beverages and the parking spot.
I think there's 8 people staying at my house.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not going to enjoy that very much.
It'll be fun.
It'll be fine.
You'll enjoy it. Get to relax.
I do have a lot of places to sleep in my house.
Get out. What's the plan for Friday night then?
Just go out somewhere. I'm not really sure. You know who Steve Aoki is?
Nah, that name sounds familiar.
He's a big DJ. He's playing at the fraternity lots on Friday night.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to that, but all my friends' little brothers are still. I have a couple friends' little brothers still in the fraternity that are very excited for that. I think we'll just hang out. Everybody always goes to Salty Nut.
I might actually try and go down to the stadium on Friday to that little pub.
Which one, TLC?
No, they've actually got that little gastro pub inside the stadium in the Cockaboose from like 4 to 7. I haven't been this year and just go see what it's like.
They open it at Friday nights?
Yeah, just Friday from 4 to 7. Get up and stretch.
Nope, she's very, very tired. She's been very tired the last couple of days. She's usually super hyper, so I'm glad she's like this right now.
Final minute of the program. Anything you missed today, you can go back to our podcast page. Jenny,
on the other side of the window, does a phenomenal job of making sure. What's that, Jen? Just an itch on the nose, or are you telling me I'm number one? Both, huh? Both, yeah. Yeah. Now, anything you miss, you can go check out. Go to 1075thegame.com webpage. You go to the podcast page. Jen does an incredible job of getting all our interviews up. You can hear Perry Orth earlier today as he talked about the offense and gave his breakdown of what he wants to see from South Carolina. And Patrick, I thought a really good discussion with Perry in particular in regards to young quarterbacks and how quickly to put them out there, something that South Carolina has done in the past when you talk about putting guys out there very quickly.
Yeah, it's a problem, but, you know, we talked about it briefly on the live stream. I think there is an extent to which if you've got the, like, it factor or you're, like, the man in that way, you'll figure it out. Granted, not everybody has the supporting cast or really just the overall talent. I know Perry mentioned Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is throwing to first-round picks. He's being blocked by first-round picks, 5-star recruits all over the field, and he's the number 1 quarterback in the country. So it's kind of a perfect combination of things. Trevor Lawrence went out there with not necessarily NFL offensive linemen because for whatever reason Clemson has struggled to recruit that position, but first-round draft picks on the outside thrown to NFL guys all over the field. That's really not the case at South Carolina. The offensive line has been terrible, and the running game has not gotten going. So just not a good situation to throw a freshman quarterback into right now.
You can hear Perry's interview again on our webpage, 1075thegame.com. You can go to the podcast section. You can also hear Wes Mitchell talking a little recruiting, where South Carolina stands. If you want to catch those interviews and more, you can also go re-watch everything on the live stream. Polly the dog making an appearance with Patrick in Nashville. Jen and I holding down the studio here. You got all that you can get into. We appreciate you joining us this morning. Braves get it done tonight, Patrick, or tomorrow? Are they a bunch of nervous Braves fans for Game 7?
Make them sweat it out for Game 7. Keep the rest of the country happy.
Game 7, yeah. Patrick, Debbie Downer on that. Good luck, Hope. We've been following her on the live stream. She's nervous. We'll talk to you. Hey, I'm done for the day. I don't have to do another show. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning. I rejoice myself. 8:00.
All right.
All right. We are
Sweet pup.
what a performance by Polly.
Yeah, this was the calmest she's ever been. Now she can tell that I'm done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now we need to take a walk. You want to take a walk?
Ready off. There is a live stream for everybody else. Polly and Patrick on the walk in Nashville.
That's all it takes. Everybody's dog knows the word walk, right? You'll take a walk.
Oh,
Yeah. Duh.
Yeah, she's ready.
exciting.
Okay. Let's go.
All right.
Alright,
Patrick's going on a walk. I'm going home. Maybe go take a nap. We'll see all of y'all tomorrow. Anthony, Chuck, RL, Craig. Y'all all have a great day.
All right. See ya.